All right, we're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. I appreciate everybody coming out this evening. This is our June 5th regular town council meeting. Could I have a roll call, please?
Morris?
Yes.
Cole?
Here.
Edwards? Here.
Here. Here.
Costello?
Here. Here. All right. Our first order of business is our invocation from Reverend Brian Johnson from Haymarket Church. Reverend, welcome this evening. You can tell us about the church and how we're doing, and maybe also we can mention the people in Manchester and the UK in your prayers for this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Brian Johnson. I'm the pastor of Haymarket Church. We are a United Methodist church that worships at Gravely Elementary School, 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings. Y'all are always invited. I say that seriously. So y'all are always invited. Sometimes I say that, people are like, oh, what's he doing? Y'all are always invited to come worship with us at 10 a.m. Sunday morning. I'm going to move on. We also have space in the old bank building across the street right there, and we love the opportunity to partner with the town on events and be support for things that the town does and be a part of this community. We very much value that. We value being here as part of the church or a part of this community. Our mission, we believe, is to help make this community a better place to live and to make the lives of our neighbors better because we are here. So that's what we're committed to, and so we very much take the town of Haymarket's life very seriously. I will also just name to you, I'm going to slip out as soon as I pray because I have a leadership team meeting across the street, but I wish you well, and we pray for y'all each day and each week in worship that this town can be a place and that y'all can do work to enable all people in our community to thrive. So let us pray.
We could all stand, please.
God of truth, God of justice, God of peace who holds all things together. On this evening, we pray that this would be a time where people together seek the common good. We pray that this would be a time where our ears are open to listen to each other, where our first concerns might not be getting our own way, but hearing others and enabling this community to thrive. We are concerned this evening especially for those around the world who suffer violence, for those in England, for those in unnamed places that never make the news, for those in this country, in this community who suffer, who worry about where their next meal will come from. In this time, enable us to do good work. Enable this community to be a place of thriving. Enable us to be people who work for good in all things. Blessed are you, Lord God, sovereign of the universe. Make us your people, people who work for your good and for the good of all who we meet. Amen.
We could remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Our next item on our agenda is our citizens' time. If everyone has a chance, we have a sign-in sheet, or we actually would like for you to give your name and address for the record when you do come up to speak. But this will be a time to hear from the citizens during our citizens' time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Last Thursday, the President unilaterally decided that the government of our country would join with the despicable Syrian regime and withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement. This decision has been met with well-deserved derision from most thinking people of both political parties. To date, many states throughout the Northeast, as well as California and Washington, have significantly lowered or have promised to lower their carbon footprints below the standards set forth in the Paris Climate Agreement. Many cities, both large and small, have promised that despite the poor decision made last Thursday, they would make every effort to go beyond that agreement in making those cities green in every respect. As the Washington Post editorial board stated yesterday, until a more rational person occupies the White House, it will be up to cities and states to head off what may be the greatest challenge facing the world in the 21st century. To date, 85 bipartisan mayors have joined together in the Mayor's National Climate Action Agenda. In addition, 3 states, California, New York, and Washington, and more than 80 university presidents and over 100 corporations are negotiating with the United Nations to have a submission accepted alongside contributions to the Paris Climate Agreement. According to the New York Times, this group is preparing to submit a plan to the United Nations pledging to meet the United States greenhouse gas emission targets under the Paris Climate Accord, despite President Trump's decision to withdraw from that agreement. Haymarket annually celebrates Earth Day. It is described as a walking town in our comprehensive plan. It should join with these cities, with these states, and with these businesses. I would like to see the Town Council join with the Mayor's National Climate Action Agenda and develop a resolution supporting the standards set forth in the Paris Climate Agreement. The future of our town, of our state, our country, and indeed the world lie with the green principles endorsed in the Paris Climate Agreement. I ask you to formally and publicly resolve to support this vital agreement. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your comments, sir.
Hi, my name is Kathy Shalvey. I live at 67 Blight Drive in Haymarket. Thank you to the Town Council and Planning Commission for granting this public hearing and this opportunity for citizens to speak. I am speaking for myself and my husband, Tim Shalvey, and we have 2 concerns regarding the zoning and subdivision ordinance. The first is with the Town Center, District B1. The second is with the proposed QBE Business Park site plan, specifically the Blight Drive ingress-egress portion of that plan as it relates to the ordinance. Starting with the zoning ordinance. While it has not been really clear to me personally from the posted public notice advertisements, I was able to find from reading through past meeting agendas, minutes, and watching meeting videos that the ordinance has a change that allows for a building height increase to 50 feet versus the current allowance of 35 feet in a district zoned B1, to my understanding. The public notice also directs readers to the zoning map draft at the town website. I was not able to find it easily, although I found the draft with the height change to 50 feet in the agenda notes from the May 10th Planning Commission regular meeting. My point with this is that I don't feel as a resident always know about the specifics of proposed changes that directly affect them, and therefore they aren't likely to attend meetings to learn more, voice concerns, or dig deeper into the website, based on the fact that I found it hard to find that actual material and to decipher through it. The new draft, dated April 6, 2017, section 58-10.1 on page 79 states, permitted uses in the B1 district may be erected up to 50 feet in height from grade, building not more than 4 stories above grade, etc. We last learned there was a request for a zoning variance for height on the QBE building to the Board of Zoning Appeals in March. My husband attended that meeting because we received notice of it by a postcard. The decision was tabled to a future meeting, which was canceled. I'm not sure how all this works, but does this ordinance change bypass that request? And if so, does it now apply to all B1 districts buildings? And would the height change also apply to other potential future buildings on the same property? Our concern with this change is not in the actual height or the visual aesthetics or the intended use of the building. It is with the capacity of persons the additional space will hold and the additional traffic it will generate. We are not opposed to this kind of structure, and we do very much so support business development in town. We also really like the proposed renovation plans for the QBE building and the idea of restoring a historic building. What we are very concerned about is the increase in personnel, visitors, patrons, restaurant staff, food and beverage delivery trucks, etc., coming in and out of the property at all times of the day and evening. This would be in addition to the current recreational use, large town events, the ice cream shop, and the school. Which brings me to my second point. The proposed QBE site plan allows for this projected increase in traffic by updating the existing Washington Street egress to two ways, removing the existing back exit and adding a second ingress-egress on Blight Drive. The site plan designers, as I understand it, the KDL group, stated in an IDE traffic generation study that was conducted, found that increased traffic of 500 to 600 trips per day would warrant this second Blight ingress-egress. They also stated that more of the traffic would use the Blight Drive entrance. Increased traffic of 500 to 600 trips a day, mostly using the Blight Drive entrance. That does not include the existing use of this road for the residents on Blight Drive, the villages of Haymarket, and the townhomes on Alexandra's Keep who come in and out daily, and the Postal Service trash, recycling, school buses, and other services. We understand that a new Blight egress would potentially reduce traffic problems on Route 55, and we sincerely appreciate the time and resources that went into this plan. However, adding a new Blight Drive egress will present a whole new set of problems, which I believe would include, number one, an increase in traffic that will inevitably cause a backup on Blight Drive with cars waiting to turn left onto the busy Washington Street. It will also cause a backup on Washington Street for cars waiting to turn left onto Blight Drive. Two, right now, cars from the neighborhood wait 3 or 4 cars to get out at some times of the day. Additional backup, which could include large trucks for construction and restaurant bar service trucks, can cause a blockage or gridlock from Blight Drive residents trying to get out of their driveway or coming in, trying to get into their driveways with their blinker turning left to get into the driveway, could cause a backup from other cars trying to get onto the street, therefore continued gridlock. 3, a backup in cars along Blight Drive could cause an obstruction for the Postal Service, trash, recycling, and emergency services, not to mention the safety concerns for children and pedestrians. 4, a backup in cars can also create delays for residents in the back communities trying to get out of their neighborhood. This is the only exit from this community. Cookies and Cream is open until 10 p.m. on some nights, and a future proposed restaurant would create additional night traffic. Traffic on Blight Drive waiting to turn onto Washington Street can create late night noise disturbances of running engines and fumes, loud music and cars sitting idle, and bright headlights right outside our windows. When was this study done that I referred to, that I found in an agenda? Was it done over a year ago? Because at that time, there were no homes on the top of Blight Drive. This Blight egress would create more than just an inconvenience or a nuisance. We knew what we were getting into when we bought a home in the center of town. The problem with this egress is a matter of safety, traffic congestion, potential gridlock, and air quality. Cars and diesel trucks could potentially sit idle in line waiting to turn for the better part of a day or evening just 15 feet from the windows of the homes on Blight Drive. This is a conflict with the first 2 items under purpose in zoning Article 1, which are provide for adequate light, air, convenience of access, and safety from fire, flood, crime, and other dangers. And 2, reduce or prevent congestion in public streets. I'm almost done.
I was going to say, Ms. Kathy, if we could go ahead.
Okay, I'm almost done.
Yeah.
In addition, the current zoning description for the B1 district includes that this is oriented to attracting pedestrian shoppers, tourism, and local convenience. Traffic backup on 2 sides of this property would not encourage pedestrian shoppers and local convenience, especially with the lack of sidewalks and crosswalks at this end of town. The QBE Business Park may be zoned B1, but the 3 sides abutting are zoned R2. The bottom line, We feel that additional business development at the QBE Business Park site would be a very nice and welcomed addition to the community if the traffic it generates can be granted safe and uncongested access from Washington Street. This large parcel used to be a community-zoned lot, as I understand it, and was changed to a B1. With that, the careful planning of business development should include a suitable reconfiguration of the main entrance, not to redirect the increase in traffic to another road, causing congestion and gridlock on a residential side street. Thank you very much.
Great. Do you happen to have that in written form that you
I do. I have it in
could pass along to the clerk?
And I also have an email that a resident who was not able to attend, who agrees with what I'm saying, attached to this.
Okay. Yes, thank you for that. All right. Anybody else would like to speak to the council? Thank you.
Hi, good evening.
Just your name and address for the record. Thank you, sir.
Sure, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come before you today. My name is Alexander Bayene, and I reside at 6817 Walnut Park Lane in Haymarket, Virginia, Villages of Haymarket. And I come before you to raise my concern and objections with the current QBE Business Park site plan, specifically the egress and ingress off of Blade Drive. A couple of questions I have, I hope one or more of you at some point today will address, are: what was done in order to properly and adequately notify the residents of this town and the residents in my community about the proposed plan? I, like most in my community member, found out about this on Friday, and thanks to Ms. Shafley here. And actually, most were made aware yesterday about this QBE Business Park plan. Second question I have is, as far as the review and approval of the plan is concerned, what stage is it in, and what is left before it's approved or finalized? So if somebody can answer those questions, I would appreciate it. I don't know what type of traffic impact analysis has been completed thus far, but it's very hard for a reasonable person to think that it will not negatively impact us, those who utilize Blight Drive on a daily basis to get to and exit our community. My understanding is that at some point, the QBE business venture will result in 500 to 600 vehicles or trips entering and exiting the property, and that most of the traffic will be on Blight Drive, like she cited, based on the study. But I don't know if you know this. As it stands right now, at times it's difficult for us to get on or off Blade Drive, depending on the time of the day or the day of the week. With the estimated number of additional traffic generated by QBE Business Park, I can foresee this making things a lot worse for us. I just cannot comprehend how the town is even considering such a plan or option to introduce a business traffic and what so far has been a residential street. Most of us are already fighting traffic on a daily basis, commuting to and from work. And now someone, you or whoever, wants us to also fight traffic to get to and get out of our community. That just does not make sense. I had the opportunity to speak to a member of the Planning Commission who actually lives in our community. And according to him, he doesn't think it will impact us that much, those who live in our community, which took me by surprise, to say the least. Now, not sure if others on the Planning Commission or the Town Council share the same thoughts as he. Okay. Question I have is, how do you think the extra 500, 600 vehicles or trips will enter and exit the business park? Are they just going to fly away? Okay. Remember something. Okay. We were here first. My family and I, we've been living where we are right now for 9 years. My family moved to the town of Haymarket because of the small town feeling and to get away from the hustle and the bustle. And now because of all the changes that have been and are going around us, this town is losing that small town feeling. According to the same Planning Commission member I spoke to, one other reason he gave me as to why he does not have a problem with the current QBE Business Park site plan is by saying he will personally not be impacted because he leaves to go to work and return home during certain hours of the day. Is this how decisions are being made by the public officials and representatives nowadays? A decision based on whether the plan or proposal is going to personally impact him or her? I'm sure this will not come to a surprise to you, but please don't forget, you and others like you are public servants. Well, here are the public, residents of this town. I repeat, residents of this town. Okay? And not some business venture, owner, or special interest coming before you. Okay? Asking you to hear our concerns and opposition to the current QVE Business Park site plan that includes an egress and ingress off of Blake Drive, and ask you to not approve or finalize this plan or any other future plans that propose the same option. Put yourself in our shoes when making such decisions now and in the future. Like I stated before, I was made aware of this plan on Friday. Yesterday and for about an hour today, I went around and talked to several of my community members. And I'd like you to know that all but 2 of the residents I spoke to have signed a petition that says, residents of Villages of Haymarket, Alexander's Keep, and those residing off of Blight Drive petition the town of Haymarket not to approve a zoning ordinance and or QVE Business Park site plan that includes a plan or proposal to add egress and or egress off of Blake Drive, as it will negatively impact the residents. Okay? Individuals who live in 43 homes or residents in our community have signed this petition thus far. Okay? 43 out of the 45 that I've spoken to. I haven't had the chance to speak to 22 people that live in 22 homes. And I have the signed petitions here, so somebody can tell me who to give it to.
Yes, you'd hand it to the clerk then.
Sure.
There again, thank you. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for your comments, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Maria Turner, Fayette Street. Am I correct that we have 3 minutes only to speak?
It's 5 minutes, Maria, yes.
5 minutes.
And I think, as you've seen, I've extended that because I think it's prudent to not cut somebody off at exactly at 5 minutes. But
Okay. Originally, I was not going to speak on this, but I will. I have, and it's just to let people know that are newer. I've been here 17 years. Some have been here even longer. I live on Fayette Street, a residential street, as well as the people that are on Jefferson Street, a residential street. And the people on Jefferson have cars stacked sometimes more than 20 deep to come up to the light. When people see those rear lights, they then go onto Fayette Street, and once again, the car's stacked. This is nothing new, living in a town, that you're going to have that. You just are going to have to accept it. You're lucky you're not in a cut-through, but, you know, if a business is going to go in near you, and it was a school, so be it. That's what you have to live with. We have learned to live with it on Fayette and Jefferson. School buses go up and down there. There are no bus stops. They're constantly cutting through. This is a result of Wegmans down there, which I'm all sure that you're using Jefferson Street to get down to Wegmans, and you're cutting through a neighborhood. Aside from that, I've read past comments that have been written up for board meetings, and I noticed that there was for and against, like not hiring somebody, not paying money for this or that, and it kind of went along 2 lines, and it was basically, we're going to spend the money on it, or we're going to table it, or look further for it. What I'm concerned about is that people, and it may be in this area, pushing for the community park. The community park was never there. It was private property with 2 large homes on it, and in fact, the developer that built Blight Drive homes was going to build homes there as well. There would be no park otherwise. And I'm very concerned that the board is not watching the money. When I moved here, the police department was over the museum. The town hall was in the museum. Then the police department moved into a little area behind Food Lion. Then they moved up to Blight Drive. Then they moved back here where Copper Cricket is. All the time, spending money to upgrade because the police department was moving in. So now they're here, which is great. But you know what? You've been talking about well before the community park, doing something with this property, which looks, yes, the Gotham store came down. But, you know, it's green. There's nothing wrong with it. Let's spend the money on the town center. And I've seen a plan that's been in,
It's right there, ma'am.
yeah, well before the park was even an idea, was even land that the county, or that the town owned. And let's pursue getting rid of these blighted buildings. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Who else would like to address the town council? All right, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and move. Whoop, I'm sorry. I didn't see you raise your hand.
That's right. There were two things, so it wasn't clear to me. It looked as though citizens' time was one time and the ordinance was another time, but
Correct.
we've been addressing both. So I'm here for citizens' time at this moment.
And I know for the record, you can just let us know who you are. Thank
I'm
you.
Dottie Leonard. You straightened me out before a month or two ago, so I know to speak about the right subject at the right time. I'm so glad that the previous speaker brought up the fact that the Gotham store was taken down to the tune of $200,000. I want to point that out. I've been here 45 years. I've watched a lot, heard a lot, and you don't even want to get me started. But I do want to tell you all that, because I want to say to these people.
Dottie, if you could.
Relevant,
I
sir.
know.
It's relevant.
We appreciate them being there too, but if you could just direct the comments to the council, just for
Okay.
our etiquette, and we
I'm
would
glad
expect
you're
from
there.
everyone. Thank you.
I wanted to tell you that my ancestry, my grandmother, was a direct descendant of a slave. No one has ever known that. When I moved to Haymarket 45 years ago, there wasn't a person of color in this town anywhere. There was a secret society going on in our town, and that one of the members of that secret society, if a little black boy came down the street to play with my son, that person was out in the street with his dog to ask that person, why are you down here? Who are you? And to what house are you going? If a black man came down to paint my house, he was out in the street with his dog. Who are you? What's your name? Where are you from? Where are you going? What are you doing there? That's why I'm glad you're there. I'm glad they're here. I'm glad she's there. I'm glad she's there. I just want to tell you, secret societies should not be controlling our life in this town. I know who they are. I know what they're doing, and I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm working on a book, and all the beans are going to be spilled. Thank you for your
All right, thank you. Thank you for your comments there. Is there anybody else? I just want to make sure everybody has an opportunity. Okay, at this time, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next item, is our public hearing. We have our planning commission here, so with no objection, I'm going to go ahead and open the town council's public hearing aspect, and then we're going to go ahead and have our chairman open the planning commission and open your side, that we'll be able to hear comments. So, Matt, if you want to do a roll call. We could, if that's, I think with the,
Roll call for the planning
Mr. Pompey?
Here.
Mr. Carroll? Here. Mrs. Farrell? Here. Mr. Shannon?
Here.
Ms. Pasanello? Mr. Carter?
Here.
Mr. Lee?
here. Okay. If you want to, yes,
If there's no objection, I would like to open the public hearing on the proposed zoning map. So
Yeah, or maybe if we could just get a mic to you, and then,
All right, thank you. So at this time, if you would like to speak on the proposed zoning map, if you'll come up, just state your name, your address, and just a couple things on citizens' time and also on public hearings. If you could address the board that is hosting the citizens' time or
the dais.
the
Yeah.
dais,
Yeah.
if you would address us and not the people in the attendance. And also, we don't engage in conversations this time. We're here to listen, and we appreciate you coming here. And it's exciting to see this many people here. And then lastly, to respect everybody's time, again, like the mayor said, it's 5 minutes. If you're speaking for a group of people, you get 10. But to respect everybody's time, please try to hold it to 5 minutes.
Maybe we can ask the clerk if she could take minutes there.
All right, so at this time, if you'd like to speak again, we welcome you to come up.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chairman, before we get started, I want to make sure that I have one disclosure. This disclosure will be filed with the town clerk this evening. Under Virginia Code 2.2-3112, prohibited conduct concerning personal interest in a transaction exemptions, letter A, number 3, a party may participate in the transaction when a party to the transaction is a client of his firm if he does not personally represent or provide services to such client and he complies with the declaration requirement of subsection G of 2.2-3114 or subsection I of 2.2-3115. I want to make sure on the record, my firm represents 3 parcels on Washington Street. Those addresses for public record: 14871 Washington Street, 14845 Washington Street, and 14851 Washington Street. And I just want to make sure that it's on public record. I have no financial interest in those transactions. I believe that I can duly do my job as a planning commissioner and a town council and make a judgment on those, and they're just solely represented by my firm.
All right, so noted for the minutes. Okay. Our first,
I think I was first on the sign-in sheet, so.
that's it.
Rebecca Bear, 14977 Cheyenne Way. In attempting to fix the errors of the previous advertising, you have unfortunately erred again. In comparing your proposed zoning map to the current map, you are in fact rezoning 25 separate properties. And I don't think you guys are aware of this. I'm sure that some of these have got to be errors in coloring on the map. But here we are at another public hearing for this same ordinance and zoning map that has not been legally and correctly advertised. We should not be here at all. There is no resolution of council. There is no resolution of the Planning Commission, nor are there any petitions by any property owners initiating the zoning map amendments required in Section 58-422 of our town code. In response to a FOIA request I made, the town manager referred me to a blurb in your mission statement from 2 years ago. This is not sufficient. Our code is crystal clear on the only 3 ways this can be done. The non-conforming issues that this haphazard ordinance and zoning map have created are mind-blowing. By rezoning Miss Bailey's property right here on Jefferson Street from R1 to B1, she could not add on to her home if she wanted to. No expansion is permitted of any kind when you create a non-conforming use. Additionally, by rezoning Miss Bailey's property to R1, it creates a 0 lot line between her and her neighbor. Her neighbor, with your proposed ordinance, could erect a 50-foot tall building at the property line. Miss Bailey is one of our longest residents in the town of Haymarket. It gives the impression that for commercial interest, we are literally trying to drive this woman out of the home she has had for more than 50 years. If you want to allow 50-foot tall buildings, the opposite end of town, in front of our industrial property, would be the appropriate place, not in the front and backyards of our residents. The non-conforming usage your proposed ordinance have created at the QBE site. Off-site catering is by right in the B2 and I-1. It's not permitted anywhere else. So you have made Frontier Kitchen a non-conforming use. No other off-site catering could ever go on that site. Religious houses would require a special use permit. So if Living Hope leaves, another one would have to go through the process of a special use permit. Yoga classes, sports facilities such as that are not permitted with the zoning it now has. In the B1, unless it's a civic event, no outdoor entertainment is permitted. And that's not even all of the limitations you've put on the QBE site with your current ordinance. You have absolutely no definition that would cover carried to full term in the R1, or at least I hope you don't, with your proposed ordinance. This is yet another example of the flaws in this haphazard 2-year piecemeal ordinance you now have before you. And again, with a non-conforming use, expansion is not permitted. The most egregious non-conforming use, cemeteries. With your proposed ordinance, cemeteries are only special use in the R2 and TC, which you have been lobbied to eliminate altogether. St. Paul's is in R1. Non-conforming uses are not permitted any expansion. So with your current proposed ordinance, the historic cemetery could not lay anyone else to rest.
We're at about 30 seconds just for you.
With 25 properties being rezoned, a lazy minimum on notification should have been 66 certified letters. It appears no one bothered to look at the town as a whole and pay attention to our town. I have found this entire process to be extremely disturbing. The lack of efficiency by town staff, planning commission, council members, legal counsel, and professional consultants is in no way responsible. This has not been transparent. It has hardly been inclusive. It has been without integrity. However, now is the time for you to be accountable. I find it hard to believe that out of the 18 persons I just listed, which is a conservative number, not one of you were able to comply with the legal requirements of a zoning map amendment, that not one was able to catch these errors that I mentioned, and that's not even all of them. I was able to identify these deficiencies in less than a 2-hour review. 2 hours. And this has been in the works for 2 years. So I'm asking one more time, as I did at the last public hearing, stop, start over, do this the right way, the legal way, the way that does not give the appearance that deals have been made. It makes my head spin to think of the public chastising
We're about a minute
that
over.
former staff members would have received for presenting this to you. Please fix this. Please do it the right way.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments there.
Bob Weir, 6853 St. Paul Drive. In the interest of brevity, I'll attribute myself to her comments. I agree largely. I also have to note that I was here last month with the same sort of critique, and I find it ridiculous that I have to come back a month later and make it even worse. It's quite obvious in reading the presentation, the materials that you presented, that they were prepared with very little institutional knowledge, but I guess that's what happens when you get rid of your entire professional staff. It may be the most singularly poorly drafted and unprofessional set of documents and ordinances I've ever seen, and I've seen a few. 10 years on this planning commission, 20 years dealing with the county, I've never dealt with anything like this. Little consideration of the comp plan, little consideration of statute, and little consideration of the expressed desires of the residents of this town over the last 20 years. There's been precious little transparency. Let me review just a couple of things I brought up a month ago. There's no notice of the rezonings on Gap Way that are shown on your map, or at least on one of the maps, because your maps don't agree. I shouldn't have to remind you, the planned land use map is not part of the zoning ordinance, but rather a component of the comp plan. There's no initiation of a comp plan amendment to correct this. The hearing notice doesn't adequately identify most of the amendments contained within your zoning ordinance. Ms. Baer referenced a few. I referenced a few at the last meeting. It's by no means a comprehensive list, but it is a large list of things that you guys need to consider. Your revised public notice for this meeting corrects some of the deficiencies, doesn't correct them all, and it still makes the adoption of any of this stuff invalid tonight on the face of it. The planning map. The proposed zoning map doesn't match the proposed zoning changes map. Look at the houses on Gap Way. Look at a couple of other ones. You guys really need to vet your work before you give it to the public. It shouldn't be incumbent on me to find elementary mistakes in the map and the zoning text that your professionals, the planning commission, or even the town council should have found. Again, you've eliminated the TC district, but you've retained the text. There's no evidence that you've submitted to the Department of Transportation as required by state code. I've spoken with the county. Your written documentation to the county didn't arrive, or at least wasn't even sent until last Wednesday. You haven't met your 10-day window. You're required by statute to submit it in writing to the county exec 10 days before the hearing. That didn't happen. Again, there's no record provided of any resolution by the town council or the planning commission to initiate these proposed rezonings. Those resolutions are required by 58.422 of the town ordinances and 15.22286 of the Code of Virginia. Your mission statement alone does not cut it. You have to have a resolution with a roll call vote. I'm sure the attorney knows that. You haven't coordinated this with anybody. You haven't coordinated with the residents. In fact, some of the people being rezoned don't even know it. It's absolutely beyond me how we got to this point. Town-initiated rezonings. You've got a number of them on Washington Street that weren't properly notified. You've got people that weren't properly noticed for Ms. Bailey's property. People in Green Hill Crossing. You sent the notice to the Green Hill Crossing HOA to a management company that they don't have anymore. You took your stuff off the county system rather than pulling it out of the town's database. Why you would use the county's tax records to determine the address of record for your own residents is astounding. I just can't, I really can't comprehend it. You haven't taken into consideration the tax implications, both for the town and for the property owners. You're going to be upzoning some people from B2 to B1.
We're at about a minute, just to let you know.
B2 to B1, which is going to impact the taxes they pay to the town and to the county, bearing in mind that we are a dual tax jurisdiction. So you're going to considerably impact people's taxes. I could go on and on and on, but the fact of the matter is you guys haven't done this properly. Whether it's staff's fault, whether it's the planning commission's fault, whether it's the town council's fault, it doesn't matter. You haven't properly initiated it, you haven't properly published it, and you haven't properly notified the residents. It's going to be invalid if you vote in favor. And I just hope you guys understand that if you do pursue this path and do not go back and review this and do it properly, I can guarantee you that this is going to be in the circuit court. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment, sir.
Hello. My name's Peg Contruzzi. I live at 12378 Moss Hollow Road in Markham, Virginia. I'm here because I own, both personally with partners and represent clients, a number of properties in Haymarket. I have lived and owned properties in the Gainesville Haymarket period since 1986. I've seen this town change a lot. I also have served on the county's zoning ordinance review committee for many, many years. So I do understand what you're trying to do here by revising your zoning ordinance. And I do understand zoning and I understand land use. I think what you're doing is probably understandable, your need to revise and bring your whole ordinance together in a comprehensive way. Usually this is done in step process. This is stunning because essentially you have taken the old ordinance and thrown it out the window and pulled in a new one. There's no redlining of this because you couldn't do a redlined version. Also, you are unilaterally rezoning property, which is a very, very risky thing to do, and there has to be an overwhelming legal reason why that has to happen, to infringe upon a private property owner's rights. Now, if I wanted to rezone my property and I came in and I asked you to rezone it, then you have all the right in the world to say, yes, no, here are the conditions, blah, blah, blah. But if I don't want my property rezoned and you come in and you say, well, we're going to rezone it, what's the reason for that? Is there some national security reason? There has to be some really overwhelming public interest in doing that. Otherwise, I'm afraid you run into the face of Virginia law. I think the other speakers have brought up a lot of very valid points. They've obviously worked on this a lot longer than I have because I learned about this when I received a notice in the mail at the end of last week. We didn't know anything about this except about 2 weeks ago I got a text message from a client who'd gotten a text message from someone else that talked about rezoning. I called the town hall. I called the acting planning director. He knew nothing. He knew nothing about it. Couldn't answer a single question. What's going on? I don't know. I'm not the person to talk to. It was stunning to me, the lack of transparency here. Anyway, let me speak directly to what I want to talk about. I own or have represent people on 9 properties in this town. 7 of them are affected by what you're proposing here. 5 of them will be rendered non-conforming. And I don't know if you really understand what that means to have a property that's been conforming suddenly become non-conforming. It means that you can't make improvements and enlarge it or improve it more than 50% of the building's value. It means you can't, if it's destroyed more than 50%, and that's just the building, not the land. So forget the land, you take the value of the building, and if it's destroyed more than 50%, you can't restore it and put that same use back into it. It also means that potentially, and I've been through this before, if a tenant comes in and wants to do a tenant fit out, and it's a non-conforming use, it could be denied. I would like to point out that your Reverend Johnson, who rents from one of my buildings, the old bank building, will become a non-conforming use. I can't put another church in there. You've got to think about what this means. It also, when you go to refinance, banks don't like to see non-conforming uses. They just don't like it because there's a question.
We have about just 1 minute.
Thank you. I have not had a chance. Oh, there's one other thing. You've taken Century Stair, which is a factory that sits on 4 parcels now, and you're taking half of it and making it B2, and the rest of it industrial. So now, Don Costello's factory, which has been here probably a lot longer than any of you have, he has now part of his property being one, but it's a factory. It all works together. Where's the sense to that? There are a couple of things in here I don't understand. You're taking apartments away as by right in your town center. You've always wanted mixed-use buildings. You've wanted second-floor apartments. Now they have to have a special use permit. You're going to make medical offices get special use permit. Why? What is there about a medical office that you feel like you have to have some special hearing and some special circumstances about it? Why? Well, anyway, I would have to agree with what the other speakers have said, that this is not good. This work is flawed, and I haven't even had a chance to read all of it. You need to start over again on this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your comments there. Any other speakers would like to speak at this time?
Time myself. Dottie Leonard. This has been my problem with this ordinance from the beginning, that there are a lot of things that are confusing about it. And I just heard for the first time that second floor apartments are not going to be allowed further, and this is the first I've heard that. So it must have been in one of those sneaky little lines that I wasn't expecting. I thought we were allowing condos on the top 2 floors. Help me if that is not true. I think there's still issues, but in defense of the 23 or whatever people who got rezoned, some of them have just been brought up to what their use already was. I know that for a fact, that the business and commercial along Washington Street did need to be brought up to what it was. But it also is a problem and an oversight that 4 lots are divided with 2 different uses. So at the very least, I think we need to protect the ability to let our properties develop along Washington Street as we all need them to. We have been working on a plan, a comprehensive plan. My property was rezoned before I bought it, and I bought it 17 years ago. I simply want to develop my property at what it is zoned to have. And I would prefer that I could be as tall as all the residential houses that are around me. It doesn't seem like much of a stretch that they're already probably 40 feet tall and I'm shorter. I just want to be what all the houses around me are. So if there's a way to be fair and just and more careful in doing it and allow us to develop so that our town can get finished, part of getting it cleaned up and fixed up is getting zonings through. The block that everyone seems to be so concerned about is one that was planned commercial for more than 30 years ago, and then all of a sudden 2 properties had been rezoned and were in the process of having their use, and the next 3 never got to have it done. And then I'm the 4th property down, a block away from them, and I'm being held back from doing what I want to do because of down planning. So I appreciate what you're doing. You're cleaning up a bad act, but we aren't perfect yet. We still need to work on it. Thank you. Okay. And that was 4 minutes.
I had actually less, but yes, thank you. Who else would like to address?
My name is Maria Rafferty, and I, with my husband, co-own the 3 parcels that are part of the discussion this evening, with the 2 brick ranch houses on it that are right on Washington Street. And as Dottie stated, when we purchased those years ago as an investment, they were planned commercial. And I honestly, I find it comical that we're talking about receiving notice and discussion with regard to these properties. I've never had so much discussion with regard to what I would like to do with these properties as I've had from this council and this planning commission. When my property was planned commercial, Nobody asked us what our plans were. They downplanned us, turned it into residential, and as you can imagine, it being on the main street of town, it was very difficult to find tenants for those properties because nobody wanted their little kids in a house on the main street of town. In fact, people were like, "Isn't this commercial?" I said, "It's supposed to be," but they changed it on us, and we're trying to make do. Then shortly thereafter, the town came to us that they wanted us to donate some of the front of our property to create sidewalks for the businesses in town because, you know, you're on the main street, and this is a walking town. And I thought, you have got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. Why in the world would I donate the front of my property to help the commercial businesses when you just downplanned me and made me residential? But they took the property with eminent domain, and there's now the sidewalks in front of it, and that's fine. Honestly, I want the town to grow. I want something beautiful and commercial there on the main street, which makes sense. Maybe an ice cream shop, maybe whatever else the town thinks would be terrific that goes along with walking through town and enjoying shops, etc. Honestly, as Dottie said, this is just making us whole. This is the original plan. I ran into one of the previous town council members again years ago in the middle of all of this, and he told me, you will never go back to commercial. There are people who are in this town, specifically one person. She has a lot of friends on the town council, and so that's not going to happen. And I thought, it was a little bit of the small town. We go in the closed room and come out, and my commercial designation is gone. This has been much more transparent. We're sitting out in the open. We're talking about it. We're hearing about it. I honestly, this is a breath of fresh air to somebody who's been around a long time and watched all the backroom dealings. Anyway, I just wanted to say I have been asked. We have filed paperwork stating our intention and what we want, and I appreciate you hearing it, and I thought you deserved to hear another side. Thank you.
That. Thank you. Thank you for speaking. Anyone else would like to address on this public hearing? Chairman Cottle, I see no one else that, if you want to close your side of public hearing. And
all right, anybody else? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing.
And just for the record, if there's no objection, the town council will close its side of the public hearing. Okay, seeing none. Go ahead, Chairman.
All right, we're going to do discussion on the Planning Commission. We've talked about this for several meetings now. Hold this back. Sure. So a couple comments on this proposed zoning map. This has been in the works for quite some time, as the Planning Commission, the Town Council knows. We actually started working on it when I served on the Town Council the last term. And a lot of time and effort's gone into this. And with the whole purpose to level the playing field across the town. I think that's an important thing, to get it out in the open, to produce a document that someone who's not an attorney or familiar with these types of things can look at it, look at the definitions, and see what's going on. So I prepared 3 comments, having looked at this many times, and I'm going to just make some comments, and I'm going to open it up to the PC for discussion. But I think there's 3 questions we on the PC need to ask ourselves. Number 1, spot zoning. Why would we make these 3 lots the only 3 transitional commercial zone parcels on our zoning map? If you look at this proposed zoning map, they would be the only 3 transitional commercial parcels on the whole map. And if you look at the proposed zoning text amendment on transitional commercial, on page 64 of the proposed zoning ordinance, and you look at intent, it says here the primary purpose of this district is to create a low-intensity office, commercial, and mixed-use area uses that transition between residential and commercial areas. The uses in the district should buffer residential areas from the commercial core by minimizing traffic, lighting, and hours of operation, by establishing buffers and by establishing other site-specific development standards to minimize the impact on adjacent residential uses. To enhance its compatibility with its residential surroundings, any development should be located in existing buildings wherever possible. Adaptive reuse of existing structures is to be encouraged if impacts are mitigated. And then if you look at section 58-9.2, it goes down to what's permitted residential, civic, and commercial. So I go back, spot zoning. We need to be very careful about spot zoning. There's been a lot of court cases on that. The second thing I'm talking to the PC, and I know you're seated behind me. Why would we allow B1 town center zoning all along Washington Street up to St. Paul's except for these 3 lots? Again, to get some conformity in here. So if you look at what the B1 proposed zoning text, section 58-10.1, the intent, the Town Center District B1 provides primarily for retail, shopping, and personal services to be developed either as a unit or in individual parcels oriented to attracting pedestrian shoppers, tourism, and local convenience. Recognizing the economic value of the existing historical area, and I want to emphasize existing historical area, it shall be further to the intent of the district to encourage the retention and rehabilitation of structures and uses in the district that have historic or architectural significance. The range, size, hours of operation, lighting signs, and other developmental aspects of permitted uses may be limited in order to enhance the general character and historic nature of the district. I know I've lived in this town over 20 years and remember coming through. All that's irrelevant with this exception. For the longest time, Haymarket has prided itself as being a gateway to the past. So why would we not have as much control as a town at large with the ARB? Why would we have all these restrictions and trying to preserve the historical town fronting Washington Street? Why would we purposely carve out in spot zone 3 where the ARB would have less control of what's built there? And if you do an analysis on this proposed zoning text, there's 17 shared commercial uses with TC. So my third question is, why wouldn't we want the ARB to have greater control over structures in B1 as opposed to TC? So as you look at the proposed, again, zoning text amendment, I can fully appreciate the residents. And, you know, there's always that rub, growth versus keeping things the way they are. But as you think about the zoning text map, you know, some of the structures that were talked about earlier used to be fully functioning schools with over 500 students. In every community that's been built, at least since I've been here, we've heard the same objections about traffic. Most of the communities that those of us that live in, if it were certain people's ways, they would have never been built, starting with Green Hill all the way down to pretty much all of our communities. So I think in an effort to level the playing field, being consistent, we need some type of document. Is it perfect? No. Could it be revised in the future? Yes, but you have to have some common document to which everybody knows what can be done and what cannot be done in the town. So And then the last thing, and then I'll open it up to the rest of my fellow PC members. If you look at the setback requirements, it is true in this proposed zoning text amendment that in the TC, there can be up to 35 feet in height from grade in all buildings not above 2 stories above grade. In the B1, it's up to 50 feet and no more than 4 stories. But again, there's a process of getting projects and site plans and all that approved. And if you look at this and you look at the side yard regulations, for example, B1, it has to be 25 feet or more abutting residential districts on the sides, and also Section 58-10.6, letter C, rear yards shall have the same regulations as side yards. So even though something's permitted, still has to go through the process, and just the size of those lots is going to preclude a lot of things from being built. I think that's an important thing that we really haven't heard. So it's kind of a unique way. We're typically up there with all of us around. So Planning Commission, I will pass this around. We'll start here.
We have 2 mics there, too. If we could, maybe we can make use of those.
We have a point of clarification. On this map, I see no TC, and they mentioned 3 properties. I'd just like someone to point it out for me. Or for, it's not on there.
We could, Chair, if we could maybe get the other mic for your.
Yes, I'll get the other one.
Yep.
The reason this came back to the Planning Commission is because there was some discrepancies on whether it be TC or not. So we're just trying to talk at large about the proposal is to put them as B1. So I'll give this over here as well.
I think going with the B1 instead of the transitional commercial will give the town better control over the properties. And I agree with Matt on that. One thing I do want to mention is in the B1 zoning ordinance that we did bring a professional in and work through this, and we've worked on it the better part of a year. The B1 was originally 45 feet, and we increased that amount to 50 feet. The B2 was actually at 35 feet, and we increased that to the 50 feet because that's more dense use of the business community. Thank you.
I'll just, in the public hearings we've had, there's been absolutely great points made on both sides. The side I heard tonight with the owner of the properties, being a grandparent and having my grandchildren over a lot, really kind of resonated with me with the concern of safety for residential, to keep those 4 parcels residential. So I am 100% in concurrence with Chairman Cottle and his comments on rezoning those.
I think a couple of issues most interest me. The transitional commercial zoning definition, I think there's a need for it. It is a buffer between commercial and residential, and I could see the theory for that. I heard Chairman Caudle list some of the similarities. I think he said that there are 17 shared between B1 and transitional commercial. And I'm thinking that some of the issues may be that we need to look more closely at what we define in transitional commercial and in B1, because I really think that there is a need for the transitional. On the issue of those 3 properties, if the property owners come to the zoning administrator and ask to have those properties, the zoning of those properties changed, that would seem to me to be the process that we should follow as a town rather than we arbitrarily change them for that. Because I think that's, and I heard Mrs. Rafferty, and I think she said the papers are in the work, as I understand it, so that perhaps will happen in that way, unless I don't understand it correctly. And one other thing, the speakers were all very articulate. The nonconforming use issue was one that I don't remember personally having discussed in our meetings. And that would appear to be limiting the owners of the property in ways that I find unacceptable. Those are my comments.
Excuse me. I would actually like a legal opinion, and it deals with the nonconforming aspect. That was raised by a couple of the speakers tonight, and one went so far as to say it would be in court. As an attorney, could you comment on that, or are you in a position to comment on that?
Actually, I also asked if he could comment about this spot zoning, just to clarify that when we do look at that.
Okay, so with regard to the nonconforming uses, when a use is legal when it starts but becomes not permitted either by right or requiring a conditional use permit as a result of a change in the zoning ordinance, it can continue forever. Under Virginia law, a nonconforming use is a vested right that can remain there as long as the property owner maintains it, does not abandon the use, and does not discontinue it for a period of 2 years or more. So that's what a nonconforming use is. And then there is the issue that was raised during the comments was with regard to expansion. Without the zoning ordinance in front of me, I can't answer what the rights are or aren't to expand a nonconforming use. I can tell you that any interior changes would certainly be permitted as long as the use remained the same or another permitted use. But in terms of exterior expansions, that can be limited by the zoning ordinance, and I would have to look at the exact language to tell you what that effect would be. To speak to the spot zoning issue, this is a comprehensive amendment to the zoning ordinance text and map. I don't believe it is spot zoning. I don't believe that a court would find it to be spot zoning, and I don't think that that this meets the definition of spot zoning because if this were spot zoning, then everything would be spot zoning because you're never going to have a situation where you take every single parcel in town and change the zoning designation for it. There's always going to be some parcels that stay the same and others that change as a result of a zoning map change. So I don't believe this counts as a spot zoning. Does that fully answer your question, Mayor?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for everybody coming in comments, and I'm surprised that there's lots of people today. And actually, Chairman mentioned those 3 things. I will, same thing is repeating. I will echo on his comment, and I have no further comments.
Okay, all right.
I just have one question, the legal question. For the nonconforming use, it's legal when it starts. It can continue forever, a vested right to the property owner, but does not transfer to a new property owner. Is that correct?
Yeah. Oh, no, it runs with the land.
It runs with the land.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of feedback here. I'm sorry. Let me try this one. The nonconforming use right is a vested right that runs with the land. And it stays with the land when the land is sold to a new property owner. That vested right adheres to the land. It is not personal to the owner. It is not something that is lost when the owner sells the title of the property. It is a transferable interest in the property.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion by the PC members?
Chairman Cottle, if I may.
Yes.
I'm in favor of the map. I'm in favor of the map, though, as if we were to be doing the comp plan amendment for our future use map or our planned land use map. I don't think we should be necessarily going in and doing those changes. I feel like we should end up making it the change in our planned land use map and then letting the owners come in and make those changes. I just want to make sure that was out. No further comments, Chair.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion?
I have a question.
There again, we apologize for having to move our mic around.
When was the last time that Haymarket underwent this type of zoning, proposed zoning changes? Within memory of anyone on either board?
My firm represented Haymarket back in the 90s, and I think you had the same code then.
So a great deal of the tension that's involved in this is the fact that we've now gone close to 2 decades, minimally, with the same zoning. And now it is overwhelming to have such a radical change because it's not done on a yearly or a whatever. Whatever changes I think that we do make have to be made with the idea that this is something we could look at with a little bit more regularity than once every 20 years or whatever the actual time happens to be.
And Chairman Carroll brings an interesting point. When we had the folks in who helped draft this up, they recommended a yearly review of the zoning map, and because of this very thing. I mean, Haymarket's a lot different than it was 2 decades ago, when it was just 55, actually about 4 decades ago, and they built 66. So again, we have a lot of people living in a small space and trying to make sure that everything's in writing so everybody knows what the rules are. So, any other comments? All right, seeing no further discussion, do I have a motion?
I will make a motion that we accept the zoning map as it is proposed in the 2017 copy, and that we ask the town council to act on that proposal.
I will second.
All right, thank you. Do we have any further discussion? All right, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Mrs. Carroll? No. Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mrs. Fasanella?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
No.
Mr. Cottle?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
5-2.
All right, do I have a motion to close our part of the joint hearing, public hearing?
I will make the motion to close our portion of the joint meeting.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. Don't know if you're able to stick around, just in case we had other questions as we go through our agenda tonight. I would appreciate it. All right. There again, we appreciate everyone. And just for clarification, the motion was to forward it to the town council for their action. So Our next item is our consent agenda for our minutes. We have, starting on page 6, going all the way to page 32. We can take these all or in part. I just saw maybe one clarification, Vice Mayor. On April 3rd, it said, just for making sure, so on page 7, it looks like present, but then abstained, and just wanted to make sure that that was reflected of your vote there. Page 7, this would be the April 3rd in the minutes acceptance.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, just making sure for
I do
clarification.
have a couple of quick comments.
Sure, on the minutes?
Yes, I would say that I'm going to have to abstain from the April 17th meeting. I wasn't present. But I would also like the May 22nd meeting to reflect the document that I prepared for our discussion on the budget. And I have a copy for the clerk, or I think I emailed it. I'd like that to be attached to those minutes.
Okay, with that understanding, do I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as presented, a work session April 3rd, 2017, regular meeting April 3rd, 2017, work session April 11th, 2017, work session April 17th, 2017, regular meeting May 1st, 2017, public hearing May 15th, 2017, and work session May 22nd, 2017.
Second.
That motion's been seconded by Councilwoman Edwards. Any discussion? Maybe there's where we would note for the minutes for Vice Mayors.
Okay. Would you like to amend that?
With the Vice Mayor's changes to May 22nd, 2017.
Thank you.
Great. And why don't we go ahead and go a roll call vote for the minutes, just so we can catch at least one abstention.
Yes.
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 All right, great. All right, our next item is our department reports. So we're on page 38 with our town planners report. Any questions or comments that we can refer to our town manager?
Yes, sir, Mayor. I'd like to bring to your attention that the report that was included in your packet was not completely updated for your review, so I can answer additional questions for you. For example, can you hear me okay?
No. No, it looks like, do we have a light on?
Yeah, I have a light on.
Okay. Yeah. If we could just, for the record, if everyone could just keep so we could be able to hear up here on the dais.
If you have any specific questions, please ask me tonight. I know it was brought up, a question about the QBE site plan application. An error on the sheet. It is going to be on the Planning Commission agenda for this Wednesday night. Yes, it is. Dogs Stay Out. They are submitting their final site plan material currently. The other current applications include a couple signs. We have received the sheets signs. There's several dozen. I don't know if, seriously, there are that many. I don't know if they're going to make it onto the ARB agenda for next week, but, we'll let you know when the packet's going to go out this week. But they have begun submitting their material as well. And also, the School of Rock sign, we are going to be speaking with the owner on some ideas for some revisions to their sign. And hopefully they'll be back on your agenda, on the ARB agenda as well. Design for the home, I see that there's status is unknown. That's not true. I have spoken with the owner about that, and I have spoken to her and also the other property owner on the other side as well. So that's in the works as well. The Winterham and Iceplex, that subdivision has been completed, and in fact, I believe there was a property purchase, if not finished, will be shortly, and the new property owner has contacted our zoning administrator for looking at a site plan proposal for that property. You'll see soon, or somebody will see soon.
Right.
Maybe the Planning Commission, perhaps.
Okay. Questions?
The John Marshall Commons project, now, hasn't that been shelved?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
that's my understanding as well.
Okay.
That could be the update for that.
Were they supposed to get back in touch with us? The Prince William?
Prince William County Planning Commission denied the rezoning of that parcel.
the project.
So it's
So it's completely off the chart now?
Unless the applicant can appeal,
Resubmits.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
Other questions regarding, okay, moving along? Sure.
Just one quick question, and I don't know if this fits here or not, but the concrete wall, how is, later? Okay, that's fine.
In my report?
Yep. Building officials report, any questions regarding that? There is I wanted to get a consensus of the dais here of whether or not the actual paperwork should be included other than his report.
No. That's up to you. It's an option. Give you a little more information. I know Mr. Morris is smiling, so maybe we could just give that to him individually.
I took time and I went through it, so it was good. Maybe over 3 months.
I read it, but
Yeah, I had some comments on it, but I'll email the staff.
Okay, so it looks like we have a majority consent that I'm shaking heads.
spreadsheet.
Yes, just the spreadsheet, thank you.
There's just one follow-up on it concerning the very thing for her with the sump pump. What was any repairs made?
that was going to be in my report.
Wait.
Yep.
Be patient.
All right, any other questions about the building officials' reports?
Yes, just one
Sorry.
comment on the
Vice Mayor.
summary. It says 3 new building permits. I'm assuming that's Blake Drive.
That's correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, moving along. We have a police department report. Chief Lands. Welcome, sir.
I know you guys have a lot on the agenda, so I will be brief. You have the statistics for the month. We had a really good month, and some good numbers there. Just the points of interest is we attended the Longstreet Commons HOA meeting this month. We had a really good conversation with the homeowners association there. We were talking about the cut-through here on Jefferson Street, discussed some plans to stop that. I think we came up with some good conclusions that they may institute in the near future. We worked a lot of vehicle tamperings in the Haymarket Station neighborhood and Green Hill Crossing neighborhoods. I want to let you guys know that I can't discuss too much about it, but through the videos that we posted on Facebook that citizens gave to us and some good police work, we have developed some leads on that. Officer Jake Davis is working that case, and I hope to have something good for you in the next meeting. Police Week was this past month. We'd just like to thank the citizens and business owners that came in and gave us cookies and breads and more cookies throughout the month. You made us fat. We really appreciate that. I did want to give you just a stat sheet real quick for you guys to pass out. This is the Jefferson Street work that we've been doing. You'll see every hour. You've seen it on your rundowns that I've been giving you guys. I just put it on a spreadsheet every hour that the officer was on that street, how many cars came past that officer while he was on the street, the highest speed, and whether a summons was issued or not. I think if you look at the bottom, you see 2,681 cars with only one vehicle that was summonsable. But we won't stop on Jefferson Street. You see, or maybe you haven't seen it, but I did borrow a portable speed measuring sign from Middleburg PD. We have it for a couple weeks, and I will be downloading the data from that each week. I will come to you guys with a report on that also with Ms. Alonji. I just spoke with her outside. She had to go due to family obligations. And we'll pass on those statistics and give you some heads up on that. I know Mr. Cole has been working on that street as well with us. So I hope you can see that we are really hitting Jefferson Street. We care about what the residents are saying, so we're on there a lot. I mean, that's a lot of time if you add it all up. The last thing is the new vehicle updates. They're all on the street. The last of the radars were installed this weekend. You can see on the bottom of that Jefferson Street list, that's when the new cars were here and the radars hadn't been installed yet. Officer O'Neill installed the last of the radars this weekend. They're working and they look great. On the officer highlights, I would like to recognize Sergeant Shaver. He designed the new vehicles from top to bottom. He did a great job. We get lots of compliments on it from other agencies and from citizens as well. He did a great job. Again, I'd like to hit on the bike patrol just because I get so many compliments
Officer Davis and Officer O'Neill on those bikes. They've made a real difference in a lot of the neighborhoods, and the kids really love to see them. And then the last thing, we had a bank robbery. I think you guys may have seen the helicopter up. It was over on 29 in Somerset. Officer Breeden and myself went to separate areas of the town. The entrances of where someone on foot would enter from that area. I want to recognize Officer Breeden specifically. He was, after it was over, they hadn't caught the guy yet. He was over at Chick-fil-A, and one of the part-time people wanted to go home. She had left her back door open for the cat to get out. She lived in Green Hill Crossing. He volunteered to go with her. He searched the house for her, made sure everything was secure. She posted it on Facebook, and they got like 17 to 18,000 likes and hits on it. So I want to give him kudos for that. But that's it, unless you guys have any questions. I tried to go a quick one this month because you guys have a big agenda.
I appreciate that, sir. Questions for the chief? Vice Mayor.
Two quick questions. Speed signs and data download. Have we been able to get to that yet?
Not with the ones we have here. I'm working on that with the company. They're trying to come up with a solution. They think it's a problem with the sign. We got to get them in here to try to fix it. The one on Jefferson Street, I will be able to download. That's something that goes right to my phone. So
perfect. That's my second
Oh,
question.
second, okay, good. Okay. Questions for the chief?
About how much do those speed signs cost that you're borrowing?
$3,000. And I know you talked about maybe one speed sign on either end of Jefferson. These would be the signs that I would recommend over the ones we have. The ones we have now are permanent. They can't be moved. This you can move in 15 minutes. I've literally put it up in 15 minutes. You can leave them where you want them, but if we have a problem in a certain neighborhood or a certain street, we can move one very quickly and put it up. One battery will run about 2 weeks, and there's two battery bays in it. You recharge a battery and keep flipping them out.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
sounds like good stuff.
Just one more thing. The car show, when is that going to be?
Car show is on June 24th. It's from 2 to 6, Corey? 2 to 6. We still got the same amount of interest in it. We're hoping to have a good thing. So we'd like the town to come out and support the first ever police car show to benefit survivors of police deaths.
Okay, great. No further questions for the chief. We'll move on.
Mayor.
Yes.
May I?
Councilman.
Chief, I just want to say thank you to you and the gentlemen on our force. I notice here we get a lot of slack sometimes for just being a speed trap town and not giving any warnings, but within this report you've given us, traffic summons 65, traffic warnings 76, meaning we're giving more warnings than we are for summons. So I just want to make sure that's out there on the record, that everyone knows from home as well as in our audience that we are not a speed trap town, that we're out there, we're community policing. I just want to say thank you to you and your officers for doing that. Also, there's 469 business checks all throughout town. I don't think that's another thing that goes, and we say thank you to. It does not necessarily affect our residents, but it also affects our business owners who may not live in the town but have business in the town. And this is huge to see that we're going and checking on their businesses throughout the evening while they're not here. So I just want to say thank you to you and your officers for your hard work and dedication to us.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yep, great. Thank you. All right, moving along. Denise Andrews, Business Community Relations. We have an important day coming up, don't we?
Yes, we do. Good
Yeah.
evening, Mayor and Council. This Saturday, June 10th, is our third annual health and fitness event. We will have live fitness demonstrations on a fitness stage. We will have a hula hoop challenge sponsored by The Very Thing for Her. We'll have a misting tent over near the museum courtyard, which is being sponsored by Patient First in Gainesville. Prince William Fire and Rescue, Station Number 4 right here in Gainesville, will be in attendance again this year. They will be bringing one of their fire engines for the event. For children, we'll have face painting as well as safari bingo, lots of games, prizes for the children, and Novant Health, UVA Health System, will be doing health screenings inside of Town Hall on Saturday. So if you are not busy, I ask that you all come out. It's a great event. Haymarket is a walkable town. We are into health and fitness, and this is a great event for everyone. The 2017 Haymarket Museum Internship Program. This past February, we reached out to over 25 local colleges and universities regarding the Haymarket Museum and our internship program over there. Although the internship program is unpaid, it provides a wide variety of learning and research opportunities for those who are art history, public relations, and communication majors. This year, we have 2 interns interning with us from James Madison University. We have one from George Mason University. And we've also gotten the local middle schools and high schools involved. We actually have 2 middle school students right now with parental supervision who are actually earning Junior National Honor Society credits by interning at the museum. So it's not just for college students. We also offer it to high school as well as middle school students. Media coverage. There's one thing that was left out. We actually have an article written by our town clerk in the June edition of the Haymarket Lifestyle magazine.
Yes, that was very, very nice. It was very much a surprise, too. I did not know that. It was a great article. Thank you, Danielle.
And any questions from council?
Questions? Vice Mayor?
So our friends at the Iceplex, when do we think they're going to be open, and are they going to do a opening ceremony? Because that is something I think we need to focus on.
Ms. Woods came in late last week, and I believe she said in July.
Yeah, I believe so too.
Yes.
And the
So
school-
we will definitely be promoting that on our Facebook, on our town page. Yes.
Definitely a discussion that me and the town manager had. That
Absolutely.
it was like literally I was coming out of the office, and there she was. It was like, wow.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Good. Haymarket Day, yeah.
I was going to let you ask me.
No, I wouldn't forget, yeah.
Updates on Haymarket Day, starting on Monday, June 12th. We'll be accepting applications online. I also have a list that I've been comprising since last year to send out to those who participated last year, as well as those who didn't make it in and would like to participate this year. On Wednesday, June 21st, I will have the first initial staff meeting dealing with Haymarket Day. There's been some things going on behind the scenes, but I want to update the staff and council and any of the boards that plan on helping and assisting with Haymarket Day. And that's to discuss the layout, volunteers for that day, as well as possible parking for the event. Because as everyone knows, it was huge. Last year was our biggest Haymarket Day ever. We had over 25,000 attendants. And most of the vendors that participated last year that had 1 or 2 booths are talking about doing 3 and 4 this year.
Wow.
So I expect it to
Can
be
you
very,
tell
very
me again the date and time of that meeting?
Yes, June 21st. I was trying to get it, I'm going to send out an email this week to get a consensus, what will be the best time for people, because I would like the biggest, the most turnout as possible for that.
Okay, any other?
Apologize. There's a meeting this Friday, too.
Correct. This Friday at 6 p.m. is the volunteer meeting for the health and fitness event. And Councilman Lake, I will be reaching out to you about that.
All right, great. No further questions for Denise. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right, our next up, Roberto, our treasurer's report. Good evening, sir. And for the public, we're on page number 55 of our packet.
Good evening, Council. Just like the report says, these reports go up to April 30th, which was the due date for a lot of the B-polls. They received about 70% of them. Since then, I have been meeting with business owners when they come in, just to get more of an understanding of how they're filling out their paperwork. That is something that a few of them are still not comfortable with. So we've been, with the clerk's help, on a one-on-one basis, discussing with them any questions they may have. As Denise said, we have been seeing a lot of interest for the town events coming up with health and fitness, along with the Haymarket Day. Next month's reports will show that jump in the money coming in for those events. This time, does the council have any questions for me?
Looks like we've answered, of course, our meals tax rental properties are all up to date for income. Questions from the council? Slide. Councilman Aiken, we're all good? All right, great. All right, thank you, appreciate sir. Our next item, we're on page number 60, our engineers report, Katie McDaniel. Any questions for our town manager regarding her?
Katie's here.
Oh, my apologies.
I asked Katie to come tonight.
Oh.
So she could be here for the resolution on the hazard mitigation plan, too.
Wonderful. Great. Apologies.
I do have one question, though.
Sure.
Is it Katie or Catherine? What do you prefer?
I typically go by Katie.
Katie, okay.
All right.
That was your question?
That was your question.
Could have
Yeah,
emailed.
This is the, since Katie doesn't come to every meeting, this is the time to ask her additional questions.
Yeah. All right. Questions?
I have a question. If I need to go to the county, if I need to go to the county to figure out who owns certain storm drain systems, which office do I go to? Do I go to my plat holders? Do I go to the engineers? Do I go to?
That's a very good question. I would have to look into that for you. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Okay.
Storm drainage facilities are owned by the county.
Only if they were, may I, Mayor?
Yeah, absolutely, because there's a big.
The county would only own those if they were in the county and after the date that the county established its own comprehensive system. So you would have to know exactly where it is and when it was built.
In that to further, isn't it one of those things that the towns would have had to adopt and get a part of the county at that time? And it's like.
That's correct. That window is closed. The county has indicated they will not accept the towns in. They gave you all one chance and one chance only, and none of the 4 towns in the county took it. And so that's where
That's
we
where
are.
we're at. Okay. Just to note that. Okay. Further questions? Vice Mayor.
I'll wait till we get to the hazard mitigation plan. I have
Okay.
a couple of questions about that.
All right. No further questions? All right, great. We'll move on to our town manager's report. Thank you, Katie.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. Would you indulge me and let me stay seated?
No, absolutely.
Thank you.
And we're on page 62, just for,
I just wanted to update you briefly on the Town Center project, and we'll return at a later date and give you a full update on the status and go over some options for you. But I just want to update you quickly on where things are at.
and just for the record, too, that our town center project on the easel right here.
That's
for-
correct. We do have a proposed doorway that's a little bit different, but we're going to get that printed up and replace that there for you.
Okay.
The staff and I, Steve, Katie, and I have met with the architects and the engineers. We're working on final site plans. We have also worked with Chief on the site plan outside his door and the parking and the front yard parking, as well as the location of the dumpster, and getting the site plan to reflect full two-way access around the building, and some additional changes that we're going to finalize and bring to, hopefully, for the Planning Commission meeting in July. The reason we wanted to get some of these final designs done is then we can bring these site plans to the estimator and get a better cost estimate because of the stormwater management requirements and the things that we have to do for that. The costs will differ. So we wanted to get this a little closer along, finalizing the building plans as well. And then once we get those prices, we're going to have a better idea of what the costs are going to be. And we can discuss some different funding and phasing options to accomplish the project in this next fiscal year. I can work on preparing a request for bids for each section of the project. We've also been working with our financing representative from VML VACO and talking with bond counsel as well, and taking a look at some of the restrictions, some of the requirements for the general obligation bonds. We've started that conversation. We have a timeline that we can share with you from start to finish on doing that process, and the role that council plays throughout that, and the information that they need. So we'll be back to you shortly at the next meeting. Regarding the VDOT Chick-fil-A wall, as we're starting to call it,
Chicken wall. The chicken wall.
I hope they don't mind. We met with VDOT again last week to go over some different options. I did return to them with the options that ARB did prefer. They went back to their subcontractor and determined that it was much too cost prohibitive to do the whole thing in the stone veneer as we had expected them to cover the cost of that. So we talked about if there was another alternative proposal, since we were not prepared to pay for or maintain the wall. So we're looking at now doing columns of stone and staining in between, and we're waiting to hear back from VDOT on the price of that, and we'll keep you posted. It is holding up completing the sidewalk because that has to be put in place before they can do that. So.
But it's not holding up the lane.
I don't think it's holding up the lane, it's just holding up the sidewalk, because
Okay.
if they do put a little stone veneer, they have to just do it right, so we'll keep you posted on that. I included a quick update on Payne Lane. Most of the material have been removed. We're going to contact them on a couple of small items that we've seen, but otherwise, they've done a good job on cleaning up the site. We thank them for that and their appreciation. Regarding personnel, I just want to update you that Alice Jarrell has left her position with the town. She's returned to the private sector, and we wish her well. But I have promoted Danielle Kievsky to the position of clerk of council and office manager. Council appointed her to the remainder of the term through September at your meeting on the 22nd. She's been assisting the town in an administrative capacity since September 2016. Before that, she's been volunteering for the museum for several years. Her passion for the history of Haymarket is evident in her volunteer work and occasional articles that we learned tonight. She did another article in the Haymarket Lifestyle magazine. She has 2 degrees from 2 very prestigious colleges. She's interned at the White House, and she plans to continue her career in the public service field. We are pleased to have her serve the town for the present time. Her dedication and eagerness to learn and assist has been exemplary, and she is the heart of our office team. I hope your mother is watching. We have posted the full-time planner position as well. We had a board leader meeting on May 31st. That was a wonderful meeting with our board chairs of all of our boards, and it was a great exchange of information and communication that we're going to share to all the members on the boards as well. So stay tuned. Hullfish House. Yes, the basement did fill with a couple of feet of water in the basement there. So the sump pump failed. We got the sump pump replaced. We got it pumped out, and eventually we're probably going to have to dig a deeper pit and put another better sump pump with a battery backup to alert us in the future. So, but right now it's working. Right now we got that cleaned up. The other thing I will mention that's been very visible is all the maple trees that have been falling in the park, unfortunately, with all the wind and weather that we've had. So our landscaping team has been out there cleaning that up. There's going to be some more trimming that's going to have to be done later. We'll wait into the next budget. The arborist has been very good about giving us some timeline so we can budget that in, just to alert you as well. Summer planners are going to be done before Health and Fitness Day. So, any questions?
Just one
Yes, sir.
comment, not meant for our VDOT folks in the audience, but I think I remember we agreed and resolved to eliminate the flyover in the resolution for the DDI, and we were told that that was a savings of approximately $17 million by doing so, and we all agreed to that. My concern is that being told that there's no money available, and I understand the budgeting and the money being set aside already for this project. I would just think, I would let them know that, we agreed to that and we contributed to some savings there, and perhaps they could rethink that, doing the wall.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good point, Joe.
Yep. Any other comments for our town managers? All right, let's get to the business of the town. Our first item is the appeal of the ARB decision. We actually do have presence, the attorney and the property owners. Kimberly, I know that we put on here to be tabled because we, just for you to clarify that, we weren't.
Yes, sir. I apologize. We had not heard from the attorney or the property owner, so we did not realize that they were going to come to this meeting. So we apologize for that error, and we see that they are represented tonight, and it is on the agenda. Thank you.
Absolutely. And so at this time, this would be where we get the chance to actually hear for the appeal for this decision. So I guess you would be speaking for the property owner, so maybe just for clarification and for the record, you just
Sure. Mr. Mayor, members of Town Council, I'm Benjamin Lay with Atwill, Troxel, and Lay, representing the property owner here in the appeal of the demolition of structures in 14941 Washington Street and 6707 Jefferson Street. I'm sorry there's confusion. We showed up at the first schedule after the appeal was lodged, before I was retained, and I asked for this to be deferred to this night. And so I have not asked for any motion to table or anything. And so we're happy to present our appeal, but we're looking forward to getting a decision. I think it's important. I've worked on historic district approvals and demolitions throughout Northern Virginia, Herndon, Leesburg, Purcellville, Middleburg. History is important, and it's an identified part of many of those jurisdictions' plans, and there's no question that it's identified and important to Haymarket or Haymarket, depending on how long you've been around. But it's also important to understand that history is not static. It is not static. It evolves. My family, the Lay family, has been in Northern Virginia since 1715. Does that mean that I have a greater voice than any one of those people here tonight? No, absolutely not. And so we evolve as a community, and we evolve, and you as a town council evolve and represent both the past, the present, and the future. So we cannot look at things in a static sense. And you've had a long hearing tonight already. I didn't know so many arrows would be shot at you, so I'll be brief. This property was purchased by Z Properties, and the Zisios family is here, John and Helen Sturgio. It was purchased, and certainly it was known as the Old Firehouse, but it was not owned by these folks until very recently. It was owned by the county. There was even some dispute as to whether the county or the town owned it, but regardless, it was not their asset until very recently. And we look at historic assets in demolition requests, and any change to a historic district is viewed sometimes incorrectly in that static venture. And I'll give you an example. I represented the Mount Vernon Ladies Association of the Union. There was this outrageous proposal to change history for Mount Vernon to put air conditioning. We had several people pass away in line waiting to see Mount Vernon. So the pure static history forces said we do not support air conditioning in Mount Vernon. There's air conditioning in Mount Vernon today. It needs to be there. Likewise, if you have buildings that are used in Haymarket, which no question has a wonderful history to it, look at things like the Americans with Disabilities Act. That is changing historic structures. That is not static. We have evolved in our history. So I want to bring that forward to the council as a backdrop to the request. And I'd spoken with the town attorney when I first got involved in this, and I want to make clear that tonight we are asking only for the demolition. We are not asking for approval of a separate architectural approval. The Zisios family will have to seek town approval for anything that is built there, or a subsequent owner would have to seek approval in a historic district. But the question is, are we able to have a clean slate to work with? And there's no question that there's a wonderful fabric of a downtown to work with. And you've put forth efforts tonight to further that. This is central. This is a central piece of property in your downtown. So I would bring forward just two pieces of key evidence for the council to look at. One was presented to the ARB and to town staff, and it's a February 7, 2017 report by Gabriel Consultants, a licensed architect, and it details thoroughly the condition of the building. And the building's condition is atrocious. It did not become atrocious in just a few years while the Zisios family owned it and purchased it. It has been in that state for quite some time. There's no question that there's sentimental value attached to this building, that there is a reminiscence. I have reminiscence about a dairy farm that I grew up on in Fairfax County, but it is not there anymore. That's not a proper basis to judge the past, the present, and the future. That's your duty, all three. So if we look at the future, what could this property be? It can be something that is incredibly important to a downtown. It could be something that is fulfilling your vision of a walkable community with a new building that's not before you tonight. That's not before you tonight. What you have right now is a piece of property that's static, that's in bad shape, and that is not contributing positively to your economic well-being. And it is really that shifts economic burdens to residential owners by not fulfilling the highest and best use of your commercial properties. You are shifting tax burden to residential properties. So you have this. I'm happy to present it and make it part of the record for official purposes. If I can hand it, I'm sorry I got a little smudge on it this evening. The second piece of evidence that I think you should consider and give this significant weight is your own building official issued a letter January 3rd, 2017, telling the landowner they are to cease and desist from any occupancy of that building. Now, put yourself in the shoes of the property owner. You have a piece of property, you pay taxes on it, you can't use it. You can't use it. What are you going to do with it? If it's uneconomic to refurbish it, and we submit that report and the evidence presented before the board was absolutely clear that it was uneconomic, even though we realize that it's important to the town, sentimentally important, legally, they cannot use it. I'd like to present this to the second, the town clerk for purposes of a record. And I think that's important to set the stage to say, well, what is a town council to do? What is a town council to do? You have a piece of property that is in such condition that it has been, the owner's been told you can't use it. They've asked for permission to demolish it, And I think there was an improper basis where there was a lot of testimony about special family events that occurred. And there's no question that those are before other bodies. People had birthday parties there. They remember the building. It was an important part of their history. We understand that. But we should not vilify the Z property owners or the Zisios family for wanting to do something and achieve the highest and best use of a piece of property. The Code of Virginia mandates that localities consider that. You've been through that very exercise tonight and probably have bruises to show for it in your efforts to try to adopt a new zoning ordinance and a new zoning map. You are trying to achieve the highest and best use for the town, for the past, the present, and the future. And so for that, and with this record, I think it is fair to ask for the demolition to be approved. That is not going to mean a new building appears tomorrow or next week or a month from now. It is going to require rigorous architectural standards to be met. And those are set forth in your ordinance and administered by your BAR. But that is not the request tonight. We have separated that. We are only requesting the demolition so that we can have a vibrant piece of property and a blank palette to paint a beautiful picture on. I don't have anything further, Mr. Mayor, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. We'll go to our council to see if they have any questions Chair, I feel like we probably need to address this at another time, now that we be able to hear this information. But if we have questions regarding any statements that he's made right now, I'll start from the right there. Councilman Aiken. Vice Mayor?
Sure do. Okay. So how long has the property been owned by the Z family or the Zicios family? How long have they owned this property?
I'm sorry, can you? Okay. Okay. Could you repeat that question?
Yeah, I'm just curious as to how long they've owned the property.
I think they purchased the property in 2013.
2013, okay.
So when the first December 2013.
December 2013.
And the application was made to the town last year?
To demolish.
Right.
Okay. And so legally, they cannot use this property because of the poor condition that it's in. And I just want to make a comment about that because I have walked by that building on the backside, and I've noticed in the roof a number of holes, and they don't look like they've happened over the last 3 years. They look like they've been there a very long time. So there seems to be that there's been a lot of water infiltration. I know I got some the other day. But also on the sides, on the soffits. So frankly, I think there are some real problems with that building. And if our inspector said that it's not usable, did they question as to what could be done with that building? Maybe do any other work to fix it or anything?
I think, again, with the recommendation of Gabriel Consultants, their architect, there were detailed portions where I'm not sure that the inspector went into the interior. Well, I stand corrected. At the time the use limitation was put on, that did occur, but there are evidence of, once water comes in, water is the enemy of any building. And so there's evidence of sustained structural problems and that did not develop overnight. And I don't think there's any question that the county was not the best steward of that building.
Okay. So another question is, a lot of times we try to pay homage to these structures. And are there any materials from that building that you could harvest that could be reused to kind of pay homage to what was there before?
I always encourage that with any landowner I work with, because that does two things. Number one, it gives authenticity to whatever new comes about, and that authenticity helps the local government preserve some of that past. But it also helps the marketplace, where folks like authenticity. If they see elements from a former building or from, think of used timber beams. We have used timber beams from the 1850s in my living room. You see them throughout restaurants and other buildings that you go in. Why are they there? They're not load-bearing, but they're there because they're attractive to the public and they're attractive to users.
Okay. So I guess you could reuse some of the material, and would they be willing to use some of that material in whatever?
I think they'd be willing to explore, and again, the facade of a firehouse. There are a number of developments where I've seen firehouses converted. But the problem with this is some of the guts are this is cinder block. There's a cinder block portion of this that once you touch it with a hammer to try to extract it, because it's mortared together, it's going to disintegrate. Again, you're always looking in any responsible landowner, if you find historic artifacts or interesting things. Let's say there's some wrought iron work that surprises us. I haven't seen any evidence of that, but I think the property owner would be absolutely well advised to try to incorporate that, because remember, they've got to try to win you over with whatever they propose to build as a new building, and that's going to help.
Okay, and I have one more question. Okay. So what is your ask this evening?
The ask...
Before you answer that, because I see you've submitted a report. Now, we haven't had an opportunity to read that. and to assimilate that information. So do you need a decision tonight, or can we have an opportunity to take a look at that and reconvene and perhaps make a judgment at the next meeting?
I think we're open to doing that, and again, town staff has got a lot to do with a limited amount of resources. I think if that will further the discussion, I think what I would be careful of is I would object to seeing a litany of experts lined up by the town to say, Lay, you're wrong, because I think tonight is the hearing. I don't think that would be fair.
We're going to try to limit the questions to the
Okay.
information presented in the thing. If there's a clarification to what information he's presented, if we could.
Okay, I think I've done that.
Okay. Yep.
All right,
All right.
that was my last question.
All right, great. Councilman Leake, any questions?
Yes, sir. Sir, Mr. Lay, you stated that your client had taken possession of the building and it was in poor condition. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What was his study period? Did he do a study period? I'm sure within that contract to the Board of County Supervisors, there was a study period where he had the opportunity to do
I believe
inspections.
it was an as-is purchase.
As-is purchase, but with the right to have a study period, which would allow him to do his own
I
inspections.
don't have the contract in front of me. I don't know.
I don't either.
But
That
again, I think the price was fairly low in terms of, given that if you look at the condition of the property, you're getting it as is. If it fell down the day after settlement, Prince William County said, too bad.
Correct, being sold as is, but with, I'm sure there was a study period to where he could do his own inspections on it, nothing contingent upon the sale, but within his study
I
period.
don't know that that's relevant to, frankly, I represent a lot of owners that buy, and if they made their decision based on, we hope that the town council will agree with our position, and this is a prime piece of real estate, I don't think they would have hesitated one bit to say, there was no covenant to say, well, you have to preserve this piece of property. You know you're in a historic district, but all that means is that Virginia law would apply to say rational and objective standards are applied to whether a building gets demolished or whether a new building gets approved.
Indeed. The reason why I was bringing that up is because you had stated that the county didn't take great care of it, but I just wanted to make sure that if your client had the opportunity to do an inspection so he knew what he was purchasing. The next question I had was, has your client done anything to help preserve the building over the past 2013, so about 3.5 years?
Again, I don't think that...
We need to be able to get a microphone if we just need to be able to get your mic to be able to hear.
I'm sorry, all of you did go to the buildings right next door.
Yeah.
Why
If
you-
we could-
you have
Well,
it and you-
Let me handle it.
Yeah.
I think that they took ownership of an asset and then started to spend a lot of money on architecturals predicated on the building coming down and a new building coming up. That was objected to, and that is, they have rights as property owners. They do not have any involuntary servitude obligations.
Chief, if you could just make sure our audience stays quiet, tapping on their shoulder or whoever, just so that we're listening here. Okay. Further questions, Councilman Leake?
Yes, sir. I just want to make sure for the record that this did go in front of the ARB. The ARB was open to the option of taking down because that building was built with in different segments, if I'm not mistaken, at different time frames, and they were, if I'm not mistaken, okay with bringing certain portions of the building down, but keeping the main facade part of the not demoing the front part of it, but being okay with demoing the back half. It was labeled within a document showing the different portions at the different times that they were built. Also, I would be in favor, as long as we put the demolition may occur only following the receipt of a building permit for the new construction, but leaving the front half of the firehouse still intact and moving forward.
Questions for clarification for the information presented?
Yes.
Okay. Councilwoman Edwards, thank you.
I am Susan Edwards. I'm the liaison to the ARB, and there's a little bit of misinformation that has been shared. So let me just clarify. The application was not made last year. It was made this year. So we are not dragging this out. Mr. Zizio came to us one night and was added to the agenda because he wanted to put a school there. So we allowed him to come in, he presented it, and we did not feel that it was a fit for there, and he wanted us to make a decision that night. By the time he came back the next month, he had a completely different plan. So we in our minds had reviewed a plan that was now not relevant. So then he presented that plan, and we had come to terms with, we wanted the core of the building to stay, just that core building. All the additions and everything, we were okay with. So then the next month he comes, and he's demolished everything in his plan, but made a building what he says looked like the old firehouse. And that was not acceptable to the ARB. We wanted that core building to remain standing. And then he proceeded to push the issue, and we wanted to work with him and have a conversation back and forth, but he requested that he have a decision made that night. So in the absence of having that back and forth and the conversation and working with him to a common agreement, our decision was no, because we did not have an approved plan or a conceptual plan for what was going to happen on that corner. So if we want to knock it down, why would you knock down a building? That building was built using the labor and the funds of the residents of this town many generations ago. And it represents the ideals that this town was built on. I have been in that building right before Mr. Zizio took it over. So yes, there are bad things about it, but he has also not done anything since he took ownership of that building to even maintain what it was when he got it. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Further questions? There's no comments. If you could, thank you, sir.
Sorry.
Councilman Cole, any questions for clarification?
You don't have any?
No comments.
Good. Sir.
Councilman Morris.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you for representing the clients. You did mention that you wanted to start on a clean slate. Did you or your client, did you bring anything, any conceptual drawings to the ARB as to what you may have had in mind if we voted? If today we were to say, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall, do you have a plan in place?
Well, let me answer that question, because that is central to very, very many architectural context disputes. There's an improper linkage between I'm not going to decide whether you can tear it down until you show me what you're going to build. That's improper. That's improper. Towns do it all the time, but it does not comport with Virginia law, in my opinion. Mr. Krim may disagree, but you have a right to apply for a demolition. You have a right for that question to be answered. And they presented conceptual drawings, which I have met with the town manager, and I've said, you know, they don't wow me, and I think that's where it makes a lot of sense to decouple these two issues. If they are to build one thing, they will have to get the ARB approval. And if they don't get the ARB approval, they're not going to build it.
That's true, but picture yourself, and you're dealing with a community that has a lot of attachments, especially to an old rundown building. Okay? So if you have those drawings, if you have those conceptual drawings, it does sell it to the town council who you're requesting an order of demolition from.
I agree it does, but it is still the property owner's right to decide what they ask for. The government may not dictate how they do that. And if things that are old and run down have to be maintained, then I'm in good shape because I'm old and run down. But that's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. We get to choose as a property owner what we're going to apply for. And Virginia law gives the property owner very significant protections when localities say, we're not going to approve anything. We just don't like what you, we'll let you know when we like it. That requires a property owner to spend tens of thousands of dollars in architectural fees.
That's true.
Until someone says, yeah, maybe that's it.
That's true.
We're bifurcating that and saying, look, we've got a building that doesn't make economic sense to maintain. It doesn't. And the record is devoid. The town has no justification to try to saddle a property owner with continued servitude.
However, is your client willing to accept terms if we agree and vote on demolition to have it done in a certain time period for the planning, the approval, and the execution?
You just linked it again, I think. Or
No.
you mean as to the demolition?
Yes.
I think that's negotiable. I think
I think that is something that we would, I mean, personally, I would, because I only have one vote. I would ask for that to be included, should we go ahead.
I think that makes sense from a number of perspectives, particularly with schools. Schools are going to be out fairly soon. You have traffic concerns. You have commercial vehicles that if you want to demolish, you've got to come in. Any hazardous materials, which there may be in this property, you've got to transport and handle properly. It's probably better to do that off-school times and off-peak traffic times because Haymarket has a limited road network. It's a wonderful downtown main street that this property fronts on. So I think we'd be open to that.
Mr. Mayor, if I can just make one last statement, mostly because Ms. Edwards stated about the whole, we have attachments and people paid for it. And listen, if a building is run down and our building official is saying that it cannot be occupied and no one should go into it, we need to take those things into consideration. Because if we're here trying to build our town but holding on to an old structure that's falling down,
I would only add to that we did have that. It's called the Hull Fish House and the old post office. We had one that half of the siding was gone in the building, had no foundation.
Who paid for it, sir?
The town did.
Town did.
The town invested into the
We're
property.
still paying, sir.
And we've got tenants that we've got an income for in the same way with the Hull Fish House as well, that it was in such a dire repair, it didn't have a foundation. It had no siding, and it's like, what are we keeping together here? But as we peeled back the layers, we were able to bring back the original footprint of the town, of those two buildings. Councilwoman Edwards, just for a redirect.
I just would like to say that if I would have known that this was going to actually be heard tonight, and it's just miscommunication, I would have asked that Mr. Barbaro be here and explain his inspection, but I wasn't aware that that was going to happen.
I think I said from the start, I'm not sure that the council, as a matter of fact, I'm going to see if I can poll the council just to see if we are prepared to actually give an action or a motion for tonight, or would rather maybe disseminate some of this information and maybe also have a presentation from the ARB that denied this request. But I think it's prudent that we do get all the information before we even come up with any type of conclusion. But I'm not sure that we're prepared tonight to move forward with an approval or denial for this without properly reviewing it. Martin, did you have something that?
I was just going to suggest, Mayor, to add on to what you were just saying, that if the council does wish to receive additional evidence, there's no reason you couldn't continue to hold this hearing open to your next, there it goes again, regularly scheduled meeting or a special meeting if you so preferred. And that would certainly avoid the issue of having evidence that the applicant then couldn't respond to, because if you hold the hearing open, you'll have an opportunity to hear additional evidence, and to Mr. Lay's point, he will have an opportunity to respond to that.
Okay. With that being said, I'd like to just poll our council here whether or not that would be acceptable. Councilman Aiken?
I do think we need to look at it more seriously, but at the same time, I don't think this should wait another month.
No.
That we should have something much sooner than that to resolve this.
Continuation meeting possibly.
Yes.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
I concur.
Okay.
I think the sooner we do this, the better, because then they can make plans for what they need to do.
Okay. Councilman Lee?
Yes, sir. In accordance with our ARB guidelines, I would be okay with issuing a demo permit for the additions to the firehouse on the condition of number 4 within page 15. Demolition guidelines, paragraph A, number 4, the demolition may occur only the following receipt of a building permit for the new construction.
Okay. Councilwoman Edwards.
I think it needs to, we need Mr. Barbaro to come and share more information.
Councilman Cole?
I don't agree there's a sense of urgency to solve this thing with a special meeting. I think we can table it to the next meeting.
Okay. Councilman Morris?
I'm ready to tear it down.
Okay. So that's,
Right away. I agree with the Vice Mayor. Let's get it done as soon as possible. Let's review the information and let's make a decision. So the people who have invested in our town, they've lost money being here, sitting on our property.
Mr. Mayor,
let's help them.
Mr. Mayor, may I make one more comment about the linkage argument that the ARB said, we'll let you tear it down if we receive approval of whatever you're going to build new. That does not comport with the text of 15.2-2306, and I've got cases to show that.
Okay.
You can't do that.
I appreciate your comments on that. So with that, I think if we're coming back around, I think we at least have a consensus that to have another meeting, and whether or not it'll be a regular council meeting or a special meeting or a continuation meeting. So with that, let me go back around to see if we have consensus.
Mr. Mayor, my clients have paid me to be here once. I don't want to retry this issue.
Sir, please.
I understand that, but I'm making an objection.
Okay,
I'm just
sir, but
making
it's
an
not your objection, sir. I'm the chair, and please,
I understand
please
that, but
refrain.
this is my record that I take up to
I
the circuit
understood.
court.
I understand, but we're trying to find
I'm
out
not
if I've got a
Mr. Mayor.
consensus.
Mr. Lee?
Sir, Mr. Aiken, we're asking whether or not for a continuation or a wait for the next meeting.
Continuation.
Continuation.
Regular schedule meeting.
Continuation.
All right, so we will now probably look at our calendar to see when we could do a continuation meeting. Sometime between now and, for me, it would be before the 18th of June, if we're looking still in June. Our next scheduled meeting was postponed to the second Monday. Oops.
How about next Monday, the 12th?
I'm not here. My mom's having surgery. I have to go.
That's right. We're going to look to make sure that all can attend. We have a Tuesday the
It's in North Carolina.
Tuesday the 13th, or Wednesday the 14th or 15th.
I can do the 15th. but
We can do. We've got at least consensus of 15th on a Thursday. Thursday, I see 3.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Morris with a no on the 15th. Anytime on the 15th, or is it just in the evening?
Evening.
Could it be like a 5 o'clock? Or 5 or 6?
No, sir.
Okay, let's go to the next day of the 16th, which is a Friday. Councilman Morris,
I think I'm good on the 16th.
16th. Councilman Cole,
Yeah, that's fine.
Edwards,
Fine.
Councilman Leak,
Yes, sir.
Vice Mayor,
Yes.
and Councilman Akins. Great. We have a consensus for the 16th, and I would assume, would 7 o'clock be, or 6 o'clock? Could we do a 6?
Earlier.
6?
Yeah, 6 or earlier would be fine.
Can we do 5s?
I'm good.
I can do 5.
5 a.m. too.
Good, there we go. All right, so we're going to set a continuation meeting for Thursday? Friday, excuse me, Friday.
Friday at
5 p.m. Great.
Can
Sure.
you direct staff to make sure that?
Oh, yeah, so, yeah, there's a lot of direction for staff. So we would like to, we'd obviously like to get the history. The minutes of the ARB, I think, would be prudent. And actually, I would probably ask that all the council to, if they could view the ARB meeting, that the appeal. Exactly.
There's 2 meetings. We can give you those dates.
Okay, great. And so that way we'll be better prepared, as well as the written information that was passed over today with those. We'd probably also like to, as Councilwoman Edwards had stated, we would like to see if Joe Barbeau could be able to attend as well.
And
to
the
be
other ARB members, do you want to invite
Yeah.
them?
No, we can
Yeah, I
invite
think-
them if they want to come, they can come.
No, I know.
But, yeah, I don't think they're going, it was their decision. We went to a denial. It's appeal. It's in our court here to make the decision. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your
Thank you.
your
Appreciate your
understanding,
hearing.
and
Thank you, Council.
thank you. All right. Our next item on our agenda here, actually, do we want to take maybe a 5-minute break? I think we're going to take a 5-minute recess. We'll be coming back at 9.
Don't know.
We're about ready? Go ahead and hit your buffer, and I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting back to order. Our next item on our agenda is our Planning Commission reappointment. We have a recommendation here, I think, that's in front of everyone.
No, I didn't see anything in writing in there.
There's nothing in here.
It's just
Yeah.
on the agenda.
Yep.
Face agenda.
Yep.
Mayor.
Yes.
Mr.
Okay, that's why I just passed it over to, yes, please. Yes, I did, all right.
Thank you, sir. I move to reappoint Madhusudan Panthi to the Town of Haymarket Planning Commission for the term of June 5th, 2017 through June 4th, 2021.
Have a motion's been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? We could have a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Aye.
Yes.
All right, great. All right, and of course, I could swear him in. Looks like he's already left, so
Yes.
I
Congrats
could do
again.
that tomorrow. Maybe we can make arrangements to have him. Okay. Our next item is item number 3. We're on page number 64 with the budget amendment for 2017. And a draft motion is,
Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution number 2017-04 fiscal year 2017 town budget amendment as presented.
Second.
motion been second. We have any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Aye.
Yes.
All right, great. Our next item is our adoption of the hazard mitigation plan. We're on page 67 with a draft motion of 68 or 75 for the actual resolution. Maybe before, Ann, will we have any questions regarding this, or maybe you can give us just the cliff notes?
Sure. I can give you just a quick summary. So the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000 requires local governments to develop, adopt, and update natural hazard mitigation plans. This is an update to the 2010 plan that was in place. Haymarket had a representative on the Mitigation Advisory Committee to provide input on the plan. And the section applicable to Haymarket specifically is Section 11 of Chapter 7. Generally, the changes to the plan from 2010 are extreme cold was removed from the description of winter storm. Extreme heat was removed from the description of drought. Extreme temperature was added as a separate hazard for both heat and cold. And regional mitigation actions were removed.
Okay, any questions? Otherwise, we have a draft motion on page 68.
I have a couple of comments. Do you
Sure.
want to do the motion and then we talk about
Or
it?
you can do it for your discussion, whatever you'd like.
Okay, just a couple of small items. Of course, this is a no-brainer. There's some language on page 776, which is packet page 69. Just think maybe we need to take a look at that. Since the 1900s, it's been popular for fox hunting and steeplechasing. It's also known for its wineries.
Wow, imagine that.
Yeah, okay. The main point I want to make is, I looked at the resolution, and before we send that out, you have to make one or two changes, I think. Yeah. Packet page 75. I would suggest that we strike out Occoquan and put in Haymarket.
Haymarket is there already.
No. Now therefore be it resolved.
Oh, down.
In that paragraph, if you go down to the fourth sentence.
Yeah.
Also, just a suggestion on the fourth paragraph, whereas we talk about the cities and others, I would just suggest we say the towns of Dumfries. And then strike out on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth paragraph down, after that last whereas, I don't think you need to have the and in there.
Yep.
Okay.
Great. Great. Okay. He took all your,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yep, okay.
Just 1 point, sir.
Yeah, just one point, yeah, there's
Just,
several.
From the graph on page 71, it indicates that the town manager and the chief of police are our representatives. Is that correct? They're our agents for this, correct?
Yep. So if no further clarification, we have a draft motion on page number 68.
Sir, in taking into consideration the few changes that were mentioned by the Vice Mayor, I move that the Town Council adopt the Northern Virginia Hazard Mitigation Plan update and provide a copy of the adoption resolution to FEMA through the collaborative operating group, which will be included in Appendix B of the plan.
Second.
By Councilman Cole, any discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Aye.
Yes.
All right. Motion passed unanimous. We could get that, and I will ink it tomorrow, send that out. Our next item is page number 77, the designation of acting town manager. I think the purpose is stated in the background memorandum by our town manager. We have a draft resolution on 77 as well.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt Resolution 2017-06, resolution of the Town of Haymarket Town Council to appoint an acting town manager.
I second, sir.
Seconded by Morse. Discussion on this motion?
Yes, I have just a conceptual question, because this is very specific. Do we want to consider something more generic?
This got us to generic, I think.
This is generic.
Yeah.
Well, it's specific in that the mayor and Kimberly Murray, what if we had somebody else? I mean, something that could be
Well,
out there.
Then there is no, if I'm not here, then there is no acting town manager, and then it defaults to the mayor until such time that you want to appoint
Well,
another one.
okay, let me re-explain. Maybe I'm not explaining it. So if you were no longer a town manager, we have a future town manager.
Well, then you redo it. That's what I said in the,
Well, I mean, I'm just asking, could it be generic rather than go through it again? It'd just be some policy that we adopt. That's all. That's the question.
Okay.
it could be generic. What our thought was is for the time being, this
Specific for,
specific for this situation.
right.
And to reevaluate at a future date.
Okay, I mean,
Okay,
just a thought.
all right.
Yeah, if I might add,
Sure.
there might be at a future date, a longtime staff member that you'd be comfortable being acting town manager and not have it devolve to the mayor. So
Right.
you have faced different circumstances at different times.
Yeah, okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Edwards, yes.
Yes.
Casanova?
Aye.
Akins?
Yes.
Okay, we are up to number 6, which is page number 80, Resolution 2017-07, adoption of policy governing participation in meetings by members of town council and appointed boards through electronic communications.
Can we defer this to?
We could. Well,
To the continuation meeting so we can have a longer discussion on this?
okay, so let me just see if we have consensus to do that. Do you want to maybe state that might help other council?
State what?
Well, state maybe your concerns of why you want to defer.
I would just be more comfortable discussing this, understanding what it is, what it means, how it's going to be implemented. We're not in a rush to do this.
Okay. I think we kind of discussed this in the past to put it on the meeting, and so, well, let me just see if we have consensus to defer.
I have only one concern, or in the form of a question, is there a minimum of physical attendees outside of the quorum?
I think that is addressed.
There has to be a quorum at the meeting,
Has to be a
So if we have just
physically.
So if you have the physical quorum,
Correct.
that's the bare minimum then?
That's the, bare minimum at the meeting.
So the quorum already has to be established before another participant, and then through the procedure, emergency that day, the notification to the chair, so that if you saw all the outlines in there.
Right. I'm fine with it, sir, as is.
Okay.
I'm fine with
All right,
not
let's-
having a continuation.
All right, let's see if we do. Councilwoman Edwards,
It doesn't make any difference to
do you
me.
feel you
We
would?
can do it tonight, but if another member has a concern and wants to discuss it more, I
Okay.
want to allow them that opportunity.
Well, that's the
as
reason
well.
why I wanted to see if there was any further concerns about that. Councilman Lee?
I concur with Ms. Edwards.
Mayor?
Yes, I think we can wait. I did a little bit of research, so it's going to require a long discussion, so I think. we
Okay.
can continue it.
Councilman
I'm
Aiken?
willing to wait. I did have one question to ponder, is there any limit on the number of people that can dial in? I've seen other jurisdictions that limit it to just one.
Okay. Well, instead of having.
Something else to consider.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
The FOIA Council prepared a document that lays it out. Perhaps we can get a copy for council members prior to the meeting so they can review it, better understand.
Yeah, then let's go ahead and table this till the next meeting. Okay, moving along. We're at number 7, the adoption of our fiscal 2017-2018 annual operating budget. We're on page 84 with a motion and resolution on 84 and 85. And what we could do, if we want to save our discussion or our comments that we maybe want to make for record during discussion time, that probably would be better than doing them up front. I would prefer if we had the motion and seconded and then the discussion, because I'm sure there's maybe some things that for the minutes or for the record that some of the council members want to go on record for. So if that's okay.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt Resolution 2017-08 to adopt the annual operation budget and capital improvement budget, to adopt tax rates and a fee schedule in support of the budget, and to make an annual appropriation of the budget amounts for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2017 and ending July 30, 2018.
June 30.
June 30, 2018. I stand corrected.
Okay, motion on the floor?
Second.
Second for discussion by Councilman Lee. Let's go around. Councilman Wirtz, any discussion?
Outside of what I've stated before, I think we're heading in the right direction. I like the items that has been addressed that are being decreased. I think we've labored on it, so I feel pretty comfortable that we're heading in the right direction. Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
Yep, Councilman Cole.
We had 4 or 5 work sessions.
I think we're up to 5 at least.
We went down line by line through this budget. We did a hard scrub on it. I think it's a good budget.
Okay. Councilwoman Edwards, good. I'll just dovetail on that those line by line, Vice Mayor had asked that to be part of the record, so that's going to be entered in for the minutes. Councilman Lee?
No comments.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I prepared that information, 14 items, and if I were a baseball player, I wouldn't be going to the Hall of Fame. But it needed to be done, and so with that, I think we could have done a little bit more on cutting the budget and cutting taxes, frankly. I will be voting no. Thank you.
Okay.
No further comments.
All right. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Our next item is our ordinance 2017-001, our ordinance to update Chapter 58 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Haymarket concerning zoning to repeal Chapter 38 of the Town Code. As last we deferred this, we did not have the liaison or anyone from the PC to be able to speak on some of the concerns that citizens have raised. So with that, Councilman Leek, if you want to kind of bring us back into the questions that we had asked.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to do a quick rundown on where we started and where we are at today. So back on March...
You're able to tone that down at all, or no?
Yes, sir. Back on March 9, 2015, and within the minutes of the Planning Commission, the Berkeley Group Planning Services had done a diagnosis of all ordinances, and they will help our plans become more in line with the state's. From there, we moved into October 1st, 2015, when the Town Council authorized the Town Manager to execute a contract proposed for Phase 1, the zoning ordinance with the Berkeley Group. From there, it actually hit the town's Planning Commission on our regular scheduled March 15th meeting, to where we did our kickoff. And then from there, we started going just month by month from March 15th. Then April 6th, it was on our agenda. May 4th, it was on our agenda. June 1st, it was on our agenda. July 6th, 2016. August 10th, 2016. September 7th, 2016. November 9th, 2016. December 7th, 2016. January 4th, 2017. February 1st, 2017. February 27th, 2017, and then again on March 1st, 2017. So some folks had stated that they weren't aware of it, they weren't knowing that the ordinance was going down, but I do want to make sure that it's on the record that it has been on our agenda and talked about during different Planning Commission meetings. We also had a joint work session with the Town Council where we had some great feedback implemented in, and then the Planning Commission held two separate public hearings on the matter, and then forwarded it to the Town Council for their review.
Okay.
And we also have our Chairman Cottle here this evening as well, who can help answer any questions if the Town Council has any.
Do we have any questions for the Planning Commission Chair regarding this resolution?
Let's not, we're just going to ask him questions and then we'll have our discussion, correct?
Yeah, in
Okay,
other words,
I
if
don't have
any questions that relate to the Planning Commission, that the liaison, that since the chair is here.
For the zoning ordinance.
Correct. We're on the zoning ordinance, correct.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, so, okay, let's open it up for a discussion. Councilman Aiken. Vice Mayor.
Okay, so I think we've heard a lot of feedback tonight, and one of my concerns and what I heard was regarding procedural issues, and that's why we have our attorney here. I don't know if I need to go through the litany of some of the issues that have been raised, but I just wondered if you have had an opportunity to take a look at the documentation that has been provided and can give us your assurance that we are and have followed process and procedures within the statute and with our reciprocating agencies.
Right. And maybe could reference any of the conversations that we've had with the town manager as we've gone through this process, especially when there's comments given out there about, that we didn't get proper notice, and so maybe we can.
Well, I can't speak to the notice because I wasn't involved in the notice. That was your consultant that did the notice. The Berkeley Group did all it was involved in the earlier process of drafting up that work, and then the staff has sent out the actual mailing of the notices and so on and so forth. So I was not involved in that. If there's some specific deficiency, there may be a person that has a right to complain. But it certainly seems like you've given lots of notice, as Councilman Leek just indicated. There have been numerous meetings, and there have been people participating. It is a technical process that it has to be done just so. If you have a circuit court judge who finds that you have not properly complied with the statutes, then that can be fatal to a zoning. But I have nothing in front of me that I believe would show that at this point. I have not, as I said, gone through and double-checked the work of staff. That's not my role. You haven't asked me to do that. I have not done that. However, a couple of the things I could point out, there's a May 15th letter here from former council member Weir indicating that there is a problem with being spot zoning. As I indicated earlier this evening, I don't believe that's the case because this is part of a comprehensive rewrite of the zoning ordinance that you have adopted, that you have before you. That more relates to the map amendments, but even so, let me just say this, that I have not seen anything that convinces me that there is a party out there that has standing to complain about the process and that person would have a valid complaint. So that's all I know.
Okay, any other questions, Vice Mayor?
Not at this time.
Okay. Councilman Leek?
No, sir.
Councilman Edwards?
Okay, this time I'm just going to address this ordinance and not the map. I know
Right.
there's some people here that are for the map.
Right, let's be next. Yep.
My one concern in the ordinance with the height restrictions is there any way we can have them? I'm worried that if you have these building heights, I know there's places for them at the ends of town, but in the center of town, that height of a building would overshadow the historic structures and be right up on them and take away from that in the downtown area. That's my concern.
So, Mrs. Murray, maybe you could address that as far as how do localities make sure, obviously with the process, I mean, there's the whole site plan process that usually the setbacks, I mean, everything that the parking that would help protect to make sure that doesn't occur.
Yeah, that's correct. And you've heard already tonight from some of the planning commissioners. The chair already spoke a little bit about that tonight. The fact that just because you have the height allowance in a particular district doesn't mean that a new structure can be built on that particular parcel because of all the other restrictions that go along with it, some of which you already mentioned. The setbacks, the parking requirements, landscaping requirements, open space requirements, the type of use that it is. There are a lot of things that go into it. Some communities have also dealt with things that are different within parcels, but not in a zoning district, is to look at different overlay opportunities. So you might have an overlay district for certain things. So it's something that the council can look at down the road in the zoning ordinance to address some specific concerns that they might have. So, for example, we did propose to increase the height for parcels that are particularly adjacent to the interstate in the B2 district, just to entice some hotels. And so we put in the specific special use category for hotels that allowance to be able to do that, but not in the rest of the types of uses, for example.
Yeah, okay. Do you have any other questions that we could have? Councilman Cole, any questions? Councilman Morse?
I think Ms. Morridge clarified the comment I wanted to make, because even though there are certain, the zones are there, they're these properties may be zoned according to the new map, there are setbacks and restrictions that, not because it says in the zoning, in the language 50 feet, there are still other restrictions that are in place to protect the town from individuals erecting buildings of that size.
Right.
So I kind of appreciated what the chair said in regards to, yes, you may have each zone, but there are still certain restrictions that are there. And that gives me comfort to know that even though we may vote on a particular approving certain zones, the requirements and the restrictions are in place to help us and to protect these areas.
And more importantly, that there's a process. There's a process with checks and balances that allow and make sure that, that as we've heard, with not having all the information, one could be very concerned that, hey, I'm going to be beside something that's 50 feet tall.
Absolutely.
Yep. Sure.
Ask a question of Martin. Could people apply for variances on those buffers and things like that?
Yes, but the standard for granting of variance is that you have to show that you have hardship that's not generally shared
Okay.
By similarly located properties. So such a variance should probably, in the circumstance where the hypothetical was, where you had a residential property adjacent to a business zone property, which is on a smaller lot, and then somebody says, well, I want a variance from the setback. They would have to give notice to all the property owners, including the residential property owner, and then that person would have an opportunity to speak. And under the standards as they are currently constituted by the Code of Virginia, that variance would be looked on very unfavorably by the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay.
Right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. With no further discussion, there is a draft motion. We're on page 107 and only dealing with the Code of Ordinances in the first paragraph of the draft motion. 107, draft motion, only the first paragraph is what's...
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance 2017-01, Chapter 58 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Haymarket concerning zoning, to repeal Chapter 38 of the Town Code concerning subdivisions, and to incorporate the subdivision provisions of the Town Code into Chapter 58.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Second by Councilman Cole. Discussion on the motion on the floor. Let's go for a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Abstain.
Aye.
No.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, and we are on our next item, which is ordinance 2017-002, ordinance to adopt amended zoning map. We're on page 113 of the packet with obviously a lot of discussion. At least I would hope it would be. Obviously, we've heard a lot of comments tonight. As I think one of the numbers was, for someone to be able to, out of 45 people to talk about something and get 43 to sign a petition, that takes note. Now, what that petition was and what that...
I don't think it's a reference to this, sir. That was the site plan for QE.
Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't for the map.
Okay.
No.
All right. With that said, there's been a lot of consideration, a lot of people that are respected in our community that have spoke regarding that. And I think let's open it up for discussion. I'm concerned, obviously, with some of the aspects of it. I wonder if there's any way that, obviously, when we looked at this as far as the comprehensive plan about a year ago, we changed the long-term comp plan for any parcels that were between St. Paul to Madison, I believe, was the motion. I think we had a unanimous consent of that for the comp plan. But I'll open it up now for discussion from the council.
Mayor, to clarify, the meeting that you were speaking of, if I'm hearing you correctly, I believe it was to do a comp plan amendment for our future land use map for four parcels along Washington Street, and to change those in the future use map from R1 to TC, just to clarify.
Okay. Further comment? Vice Mayor?
About the map.
We're on the map.
Okay. Well, I'm a little confused. I have to admit, this is not my area of expertise, but I don't understand why some of these properties aren't transitional commercial. And I wish somebody could explain to me why they aren't and what makes sense.
Okay. Councilman Aiken, any comments or thoughts?
No.
Okay. Over to this side of the dais.
If I could just add to Vice Mayor. One of the issues that I have, especially concerning those parcels, is it is at a disadvantage, in my opinion, it is at a disadvantage to have it zoned B1 or even B2. Well, right here it's B1 for this, but it seemed, in my opinion, so I do concur that there is some level of confusion. But for me, it seemed as if I was the property owner, I would want this to be zone TC instead of B1, because there are so many more restrictions as a B1 zoned area compared to a TC and what I could do for the property. So that is the biggest concern that I have with the map. However, I did hear some comments that left me uneasy, especially from individuals who shared. And honestly, I need to do more research on this. There was one comment about us with the proposed map changing an R1 to a B1, and I'm not 100% sure if it is a correct statement, because we have heard a lot of incorrect statements here in the past few weeks, a lot.
Yes, we have, sir.
But I would love to research it to know if it is a correct statement. There was another, I think the Vice Mayor addressed it with the legality of the direction and the steps that we've taken, and I would love to give the attorney more time to come back to say with absolute surety we did. And I don't think we got that tonight.
So I think we might have a consensus here that we need to table this. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yes, apologies.
Do you want to say?
Yeah.
I am all in favor of cleaning up the zoning map, but I do want the property owners to be able to talk about the implications a little bit more. Now, yes, I think there was ample notification, and so, but I think we can reach out to the property owners again and find out what the implications are, especially with the taxes, things like that. I was more interested in changing the ordinance than changing the map, and I think we can do a little more research with the map and just tighten it up. Maybe we can add the TC to some of those properties where you've got residential right up against them, and then look at the other ones that may be affected similarly. So I'm not in as much of a rush to vote the map in. The ordinance was important because that allows people to start doing site plans and things like that. But the map, we can work with individual property owners. If they want to rezone, they can come and request, and we can work through that. So, before we make a wholesale change like this. And also I'm a little concerned about the stairway, the staircase company.
Century Stair.
It's a factory, and, splitting it down the middle, we got to look at that again.
That's
Okay. Good.
okay. Nope.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so I really agree that we need transitional commercial. I know people have spoken in the past that we're a small town. Why do we have all of these different, zoning designations? But if you look at it, we are a small town, so we need that transition because we are in such a small area. You have to have those areas that transition as opposed to just putting a big building next to a house. You know, a lot of the residents have lived in this town, maybe not 50 or 60 years, but Green Hill's been here 21 years. So there's a lot of longtime residents here, not just 50-year residents. And there are a lot of traffic issues, and that's not going anywhere. I mean, we're just at a crossroads here, and people know they can cut through town if there's traffic on 66. It's just our location. Should we look at that? Absolutely. But I really feel that the whole thing with the industrial for some of these properties, we really need to look at that end and make sure that we aren't doing the property owners an injustice, and what the ramifications of the different zoning would be for them as industrial and what are they changing to B2? So I think that's very important for them. I mean, Century Steer's been here for so many years, and that's just one example. We just really, I'm all for cleaning up the map, but I think we really need to look at this some more.
Okay. Any?
Yes. Do you want to go ahead?
Further
I
questions?
just wanted to answer the questions that the council had, so if Vice Mayor would like to go, and then I can.
You answer the questions, and I'll wait.
We'll head back around. Ms. Edwards brought up the transition commercial. I just wanted to clarify that directly across the street from those parcels, that land there is designated B1 already in the zoning map, also as well as within the future land use map, but in the zoning map, it shows B1. The two other parcels that are next to those parcels, being 14891 and 14881, are also B1. I know you also said that B1 and backing up to other residential property, as those parcels across the street do, those back up to Long Street Commons.
Bigger properties.
Actually, smaller properties, because those would be townhomes.
Well, no, but I mean,
larger.
the parcel that has the zoning is larger.
Yes, they are divided up into different sections. They're not. It's not just one great parcel.
No,
but I would concur. I would say yes, that they are slightly larger than some of those other parcels. And then obviously we have down Jefferson Street. We have B1, as well as between Madison Court and Jefferson Street. Again, a lot of this business were BB&T to the old bank building, then back to where currently Tobaccoology is. That's also being B1. So with that being said, I just want to make sure that it's out there that we do have other parcels along that strip that are already B1. So to do those to transition, which is understandable, and I respect your opinion in regards to doing that, but at the same time, the parcels right across the street are also B1. I think Mr. Morris's question was the same as Vice Mayor's about the transition commercial district. Is that correct?
Yep.
And I apologize, could you just clarify what the question is so I can make sure I answer it for you?
Well, I'm confused. I don't know. We have it in the document, in the ordinance, and we don't have it anywhere. And we originally approved transitional commercial for a number of properties, and it seems to me, and I could be wrong, that that really doesn't impact their marketing of that property, and it provides a little bit of a buffer for the people that live behind them. So I'm not really sure why we went to B1. I mean, I understand being consistent and making those changes, but not really sure, especially what I heard tonight by others about unilaterally rezoning without approval, property owners having to deal with that. So frankly, I think the issue here tonight is we just heard from the public, and I want to thank the public, and I think we all do, for coming out. You know, I'm often reminded, and I wrote it down as I was thinking, that service to others is the rent we pay for our space on earth. And so for you all to come out here and say what you did a service for us and for the community. I think we need to do that one better, and I think we need to step back and go through this and not rush to judgment and consider what we heard tonight, because you know, I'm never comfortable hearing something and then reacting right away. I like to cogitate and think it through a little bit, and I think it would be well worth it for us to do that. Okay. And that's really where I'm coming from.
Excellent. So to Mr. Morris, is that the same question in regards to the transition commercial?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So currently...
It's not a question.
I'm sorry?
It's not a question that requires an answer. It's a statement.
Understood. I would like to just clarify, currently, we are correct, we do not have any parcel zone transition commercial within the town. Within our future land use map, we do have 7 parcels that are designated transition commercial, 4 of those being along Washington Street, 3 of those being along Fayette Street. It used to be 4, but one of those was rezoned to a B1 parcel. So we currently do not have any parcels in the town zone transition commercial, but it was put in it was in the old ordinance and as well as in the new ordinance to pretty much do a transition from outside town inside to the town. With that being said, hopefully that, I know you said it was not a question, but hopefully that clarifies, sir.
Definitely. No, I was just going to put our manager on the spot to just see if there's any further comments or.
No, I think that's some good direction to go in. I think we got some really great comments tonight, and I think it would be prudent for you to make sure that you feel comfortable and they're all answered for you.
Right.
And Mr. Mayor, if I can just add, it would be nice just getting a map of what it looks like right now, and then from that, looking at each parcel to see what is being affected, how they're being affected. There was one point that was made where changing a property from an R1 to B1. I'd love to know which one of these properties are affected in that way, because these are, if they're affected in such a way where it's going to affect them paying more or their taxes,
Can change
I
considerably.
guess.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. That's
Right.
the part
And I
that's
think that
confusing.
there's, of course, some confusion, too, about the comprehensive plan or the long-term plan versus the zoning map, So I think just internally, obviously, we even had someone from our audience there wasn't sure because he was looking at the map that there was no CT listed on that map because that's what this one is here. Sure. Kimberly, I'm sorry.
Mr. Morris, it was this map here that was included in the materials that shows the particular parcels that were getting changed, the zoning
Right.
that were getting changed.
So those were,
All of them?
That's all of them.
yep. Those were
I
the
don't
ones.
think that's correct, ma'am.
From our zoning map from previous to the,
Is stairway included in that map?
Yes, stairway is included in this, but that can be easily taken out.
Right.
That's-
right. Councilwoman Edwards.
I just lost my train of thought. Wait a minute, give me a second. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that was page 4 and 5 of our map, our packet there.
This was the map that was produced by the consultant. So if this map is wrong, and some of the comments that you heard tonight are saying that some R1 or whatever was changed, then we need to sit down and take a look at that, because this was produced by the consultant.
Right. Yeah, and I wonder if that confusion is the zoning map versus the comp map plan.
I remember my question.
Right.
Okay, so Councilman Leek said that there was a future land use map, and now we have this zoning map. So why doesn't the zoning map match the future land use map? Are we not moving in that direction?
Yeah, so what, maybe you can just give a history on that of what a town does as far as its long-term comprehensive plan or long-term map.
I mean, if we're changing it, I don't
Yeah.
understand why
So
we're
you
just
give a
not
vision.
going there.
Understand that I came in November.
No, I know.
And one of the first questions I asked was, why are you updating your zoning ordinance when you haven't updated your comp plan? And the answer I got was, the zoning ordinance hadn't been updated in a really long time. There's some things that the council and the planning commission really wanted to take a look at, and that we needed to get those changes in place, and then we were going to go back and update our comp plan. And as you heard from our consultant at the last meeting, he did agree that sometimes communities, due to various reasons, need to make some changes to the text and to the map ahead of their comp plan changes. And then they go back and do a comprehensive update of the comprehensive plan. In an ideal world, you would update your comp plan first, and your regulations would follow the outline of the vision for your community. But sometimes it can't always be done that way. So once this is done, that was a task that we were going to task the planner to get right on next, was to update the comp plan.
Okay. In that amendment that we did a year ago, that was to the comprehensive plan, where we,
That was for the, Mr. Mayor, that was for the future land use map changing 4 parcels on Washington Street, 14841, 14851, 14845, 14871, from R1 to TC in the future land use map.
Right, okay.
But we all agreed that the zoning ordinance, there were things that weren't statutorily correct that we really needed to correct, and some other things. And that's the path that the town took, and I think it's a
Right.
much better document now. It's not perfect, but we can go back, we can continue to make the changes that we need to make to it.
Okay.
So when was the last time that the comprehensive plan was updated?
2008.
It's been a long time. It's 2008.
If I'm not mistaken, and it should be done every 5 years.
Every 5 years, so it's due next year, so the timing is good to work on it next.
Okay. Obviously, we're not moving forward. Well, we're moving forward, but not on this, for this.
But I think we're all in agreement. It does need some work.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Don't get me wrong, Mr. Leek. I mean, I appreciate what the Planning Commission
Oh,
has
absolutely.
done over the years. You guys really did a good job. But bringing it to those who make the decisions, we need to take a step back to understand the full layout and those who are being impacted, who are our residents.
Right.
We need to do that before we can vote.
Yes, sir.
So thank you, you and Mr. Chair. You guys did a great job in the last few years. I love the dates that you gave out. But as we move forward to make decisions, we have to understand it. And we have to look at the individuals who are being impacted.
All right. With no further talk on that, we'll go to our next item on our agenda.
Oh.
Yes. sorry.
Mayor, when do you want to take up that item again? Do you want it on the July agenda?
Well, let's put it as a
work item?
placesetter for our July agenda, correct, and we'll see where we go from there. Our updates, Dominion Virginia Power. Councilwoman Edwards and I attended the Board of County Supervisors special meeting where they actually crafted a resolution to denounce they're not going to allow the railroad route or remove any of the legal obstacles as the SEC had stated. And also, it was good that they actually added something to the resolution regarding the Carver Road, that they did not support their findings in that. It was well attended, I think. They had a lot of speakers that spoke. There's probably a lot of misinformation out there with the public that thinking that the county supervisors could actually do something regarding the SEC at this process. The hearing has been closed. No new information is allowed in. However, now it's clearly in Dominion and the SEC to give their final report, whereas this was an interim report that they had placed. So anything you want to add?
I would just like to say that it was really impressive to be at the Board of County Supervisors to see that I think it was Dominion's intent and the SEC's intent to divide the community and pit them against each other. And it was made clear that the residents of all the communities were not going to allow that to happen. And there were people there speaking from all the communities, from Heritage Hunt, who is not directly affected by either one of these plans. But they made a commitment that we were all going to stick together. Everybody made that commitment. And I think people have stayed true to that without throwing their neighbors under the bus. And it's very impressive in this area that over these 3-4 years that we've been fighting these power lines, that we've all stayed the course and kept the message that the only route that's acceptable is the hybrid route. And people, it's really impressive. I just wanted to say, to see these people travel to the other end of the county and continue to attend these meetings. I mean, the room was packed. They had space outside. It was pretty impressive. So,
I misunderstood the email because I thought they had some authority. The board of county supervisors had some authority in pushing back.
they did. They did.
They do have some
There
level
is,
of authority.
the conservation easement was given by Somerset Crossing, or Somerset, the neighborhood, to the Board of County Supervisors. And the SEC's decision, and correct me, anyone can tell me I'm wrong, but the SEC's decision went back to the Board of Supervisors and said they wanted them to vacate that conservation easement so they could go ahead and put the power lines down the railroad.
Which would go through the town, actually.
Right.
And,
It's a small portion.
right, but, so they wanted the board to vacate that agreement with Somerset. And if they would not vacate it, they said then they would go the Carver Road route.
So there is other actions that the board, that the county can take?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
There is a substation that, although
They
they
need
cannot,
permits.
although they can't tie it into, they can't tie it into there, but a substation would come up in front of the Board of Supervisors to, approve or deny. So there's maybe a few more tools that the county would have. So, any other further things? DVP, VRE, I think we could skip
We're
that.
approaching 4 hours, nothing to add.
Yeah, okay, great. Let's go over to the next page, which is our ARB update. Councilwoman Edwards? Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
I can pass.
Okay.
I'm going to pass.
All right.
I think we had enough ARB tonight. How's
Okay.
that?
Yes.
All right. Planning Commission update, Councilman Leak.
I'll just jump on the ARB as well. There was 2 signs that we had discussed at the ARB meeting. Planning Commission update, the only update was that we had forwarded you all the zoning ordinance.
It's almost done, maybe.
Okay.
No other updates are.
All right, great. Councilmember time.
Just very briefly, met with VDOT again about the traffic situation on Jefferson Street. Had a lot of good discussion about making one-ways or even closing Jefferson Street off if possible. All of these are huge changes, and basically, we came to the agreement that and I talked to the residents, and we came to the agreement, let's see how the speed table works, and we'll do another traffic study in the fall to see if there's been some effect by the speed table. I think, the residents were happy to wait and see how it all works. They wanted to make sure that we stayed on the chief to keep the increased patrols there. And then I think if we add those speed signs, that's going to be a big help. So no changes to the flow, to the road. The speed table apparently is going to be coming in summertime sometime. So, and I saw Pete Canlin over the weekend, thanked him for the speed table. He said he has other funds to do other road-type things of a similar nature if we need them.
Crosswalks.
So,
Links to
That's it.
communities. Okay, Councilman Aiken?
As everyone knows, I haven't had the time to put in a lot on council lately, and I appreciate everyone's thoughts as they've given them to me. So I just want to say thank you.
Appreciate that, sir. Absolutely. Councilman Morse?
Thank you for the residents who came out. It was really good discussion. I came here this evening with some preconceived directions that I was leaning towards, and they weren't changed, but I got some good inputs where I started reevaluating why I took certain positions. So it was good just hearing from the residents and just to realize I wasn't far off, but I needed to do more research. So for those residents who may be listening later on and those who are still here, thank you.
Sure, like the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, if you watch all the credits, and then at the very, 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 very end, they actually have some footage there for a sequel, I think. Say that, Vice Mayor.
Is that a spoiler?
Yeah, that was it. You should have sat in the theater and watched all the credits.
Was that a hint?
Yeah. Vice Mayor.
Jim Harrigan. Thank you, everybody, for attending, especially those that have left. Actually, no, especially those that have stayed. We're getting on 4 hours here. A lot of good comments. I think I have some concerns about Blight Drive. and the traffic, and I think that's something that needs serious attention. I think there are solutions that are out there, and I would hope that they get examined fully. We met with our HOA 2 weeks ago, and this is a quality of life issue. But I think eventually, we need to put on our agenda, while we have an ordinance regarding curbing one's pets and other things, the pets disposal. There seems to be no teeth in that ordinance, and I got some comments from members of the HOA that maybe we should look at other communities, maybe the county, and to give our police officers some authority, some real teeth when folks aren't obeying the ordinance. So I would make that suggestion, and I would hope that we take that up in the future. Thank you.
All right. In the essence of time, I think there's nothing I need to add tonight. There is one, sorry, apologies. Yeah, there you go. Joe to Connor. Apologies, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say 2 thank yous. First, thank you to Ms. Murray and her staff and all that you all do for us on a daily basis. I think a lot of the stuff you all do for us goes unnoticed, and I just want to say thank you. And we do recognize it, and we do want to thank you for everything. And Chief, thank you and your officers for all that you do for us, keeping our town safe, as well as assisting county, but mainly staying within town, helping us stay safe. And what you have changed within these past about 6 months is just outstanding. I just want to say thank you. No further.
All right. There is one housekeeping item. We need to add an executive session for something that came out today. So.
Do we have to?
That'll be up to you. Do we have to?
No, we don't have to.
Okay, very good.
Skip it till next one.
All right.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody would like to talk to me after the line, I can.
I make a
share with
motion
you.
that we,
Yeah.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second. No.
No, we're good. The attorney says we're good, we're good. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Sorry, it came out that way.
I know.
You were like, what?
Why do you know? Yeah.
Good night, folks.
Good night, sir.